Okay, we're live. Hans, you want to do, I'm sorry. Ray, you want to do the intro?
No, I think you should do the intro.
Just thinking,
as we always do.
Do I always do the intro?
Look, Q, I know we're fucking live already, okay?
No, I did.
Hello,
I
everyone,
specifically told you that we were going live.
Another innocent podcast where this episode is not going to be so.
I thought we were gonna be serious. What happened?
That was just bullshit. We can't be serious. We're immune to that shit.
Have you seen my fucking profile picture?
Yeah.
All right. So anyway,
so we're back for another innocent podcast today, where we have been away for a while. Well, we're back, and we're back specifically because of Hans. He wants to talk about this shit for some reason. Honestly, I would not have talked about this if it wasn't for him. This is how much I care about this guy. All right, like honestly, I was not interested in checking this out, but I have to say I'm thankful for him because I wouldn't have watched it without him. So, but it also shows how much I care about him. So sweet.
Very nice friend. Amazing.
Very nice, very nice. So sweet. So this is Velma, the HBO series currently right now, and I was surprised when I saw it was on HBO. Didn't know it was a HBO series. Just knew that it existed, essentially. But it is on HBO, and it's an animated series that essentially is kind of like I guess the best way to put it, it's like
a retcon. A retcon?
That's not even it. It's not a retcon. That's not the way I see it. I think the thing about this series is that it uses characters, from the Scooby-Doo, the Scooby-Doo franchise. Like it uses their likenesses to a certain extent, but it has nothing to do with Scooby-Doo at all. It has nothing to do with those characters from the original series. So it's sort of like, back in the day, there was a Looney Tunes animation where it was like Bugs Bunny and all of those guys from Looney Tunes, but like they're kids. And they were like superheroes and stuff. That's basically what this is like to me. It looks like the stuff that it's supposed to be representing, but it's not that stuff. And hey Daniel, welcome to the stream.
So, like a spin-off, dude.
It's not even a spin-off. It's not the word I would use for it. I think it's more like an homage, or not even that would be a long stretch. It literally just uses the character. It's like fanfic, but fanfic that has nothing to do with the original stuff. It's like, oh, I'll just take these characters and I'll just make my own story from it, and they'll have nothing to do with the original stuff, and even the characters have nothing to do with the characters. It's just they look like them. So like in the case with Velma, she has the glasses, the jumper, and the kind of haircut, kinda. But she has nothing to do with the original Velma from the Scooby-Doo franchise. Again, and the same for like Fred. He has a T-shirt and is slim and tall, but he has nothing to do with the original Fred. And so forth with all the characters. Basically, the only character who looks almost split into the original one is it's Fred. No, well, I'm sorry. I was quoting Shaggy. Sorry, Shaggy looks like anyway. But yeah, and then they all share the names, I guess, to a certain extent, because Velma is Velma, and Fred is Fred, and Shaggy's not Shaggy. His name is what now? What's that guy's name?
Norville.
Norville, yes, Norville is his name. So I'll leave it up to Ray to remember the names. I don't remember. I'm not remembering shit. So yeah, essentially, the other thing I would say about this series is that it's very similar to a the type of show that this is a type of adult mature cartoon that you'd find late at night on like Adult Swim kind of stuff. So that's essentially what this is. It doesn't try to hide away from that. That's literally what this is. This is an adult cartoon that you would watch, or adult animation that you'd watch at night, and it mirrors a lot of that kind of stuff. It's not even. This is not for kids. In the slightest. This is absolutely not for kids. This show is, as far as I'm concerned, 18 plus. And
just like this podcast.
Yes, just like this podcast. And
No, I was just gonna say there's one character that obviously is not there, which from what we've seen,
is not there.
Yes, there is one character. Just bringing up characters real quick.
A dog.
Scooby is in there. Yeah. Scooby isn't in the show as well.
They make a reference to him though, which is pretty cool. That's like one of the only things about it. You guys don't remember?
No,
I don't remember.
I guess we'll talk about that when we get through the episode plots.
The thing as well, just to mention, is that this show it's currently right now on IMDb. It's a 1.4 out of 10, so it's absolutely one of the lowest rated shows ever at this particular point in time, and it's got 10 episodes so far.
If I can say anything on that, that's why I picked it, because we start the new year low, and we'll go out with a bang in the end, right? So imagine.
I don't think we're gonna have another Cyberpunk Edge Runners 10 out of 10 though by the end of the year. That's just my foreseeing.
Oh,
that show was too godlike for our time.
True.
So the other thing too as well is I think a lot of the voice work that is loaned to the characters, a lot of it comes from actually really good comedians, like really well-known established comedians like Mindy Kaling and Wanda Skies and and Jane Lynch and so forth. So there's a lot of star power behind these characters and so forth. But
I actually know Velma is one, but I didn't know that all the others were also very popular, or even that they were stand-up comedians.
And also, according to the chat, technically Shaggy's true name is Norville from in the beginning. So apparently in the original series, Shaggy's name is Norville. So it's
all right.
It's interesting that his name is Norville.
Yeah, I did not know that. Thank you for telling us, chat.
Yeah. So
great stuff. Great chat.
That is that's the description and the breakdown the show. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna now take a back seat and drink my soup because I'm coughing. While I think more like I would like to hear Rhea's opinion first than anyone else, and then we can get into a conversation about it. So Rhea, the floor is yours, bro. Go for it.
You didn't speak already, and you're already wrong. Just letting you know.
Okay. I'm just saying.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So as Q said, it was all my idea. I was like, we should watch this. The fuck is that? It's not even anime. Like, it ain't anime, but it is animated. And going off of Cyberpunk, which we all know is anime. At this point, I think it was really funny to start this New Year episode with that. And if you guys haven't watched episode 1, it's about Cyberpunk. Go back, watch that episode, and then obviously, stay and watch this one first, obviously. But then after this one, go and watch the first episode, and then watch all the other 18 other episodes that we have, because I'm telling you to do it, and you have to do it. It's great content out there. But yes, so for me, this show, I seen so many small clips. I literally see half of a clip or whatever, maybe 1 or 2 seconds, and I stop it immediately. And I think to myself, so many, and it's not all the clips I've used as you've seen on the internet, and both of you and this call with me has seen. The reviews are not good. Mostly people have been talking about it. I watched, the first thing I saw was Asmongold talking about it. And if you don't know, I'm a big Asmongold enjoyer. I don't really watch his streams, but I watch his YouTube videos. Sorry about that. And for me, it was just what's so bad about this? Is it one of those My Little Mermaid things where they make the character black and everyone fucking loses their mind? Or I was trying to pick up what is it they don't like about this show? So for me, it was very interesting to watch it, and I watched it, and I actually then suggested it to Q. I think I was on the last episode or something when I suggested it, and then I just told you, I'm watching this. I already watch it through it, and I have a secret episode, or I already have a show for us for the next episode. So we're already starting off 2023 with another episode in mind, which Q, I think, if he remembers, he already greeted, but I'll bring it up later, or if we want to talk about it later, but we'll talk about that after. So with the Scooby-Doo, and I want to start with the animation style a little bit, and because that's actually the thing I focus on the most, and the characters and the humor a little bit. So, like you said, it's it's something that it's something that adults, that would be shown on Adult Swim, something closer to maybe I wouldn't even say it's even more mature than Family Guy. Family Guy has a lot of mature stuff, but I could see a really young I don't like my brother when he was 15, he used to watch Family Guy all the time. When I was 15, I would definitely watch Family Guy. This show is very like
There's a
X-rated to its degree, but and there's some charm to it, in my opinion. But it has a very. I actually didn't like the art style at first. Like literally straight up, like the first 2 episodes, I actually didn't like the art style, but I like the humor, like how it started and everything. And I will talk about that stuff later. And I'll give my opinion on it a little bit later, because I do want to say that also Nevi is in here, or as we called him, I think in the last episode, we called you Narm. Nevi is my homie from America, and obviously my associate Q in the call.
I thought you were gonna say he's my lover, but okay, go on.
He's declined me too many times for that to happen. So I think I'm going to let you pop off a little bit, Nevi, because I know you have some stuff to say, but
is that all you have to say about it? I mean,
I have a lot more to say, but I want to like have each person kind of, I want to throw it a little bit in there, because I'm going to get into some things on why what I like about the show and stuff. So if you want to just give a brief,
I already know what we already know what Nevi thinks about the show. All right, we already know what he thinks.
I do have things to say about it though that I didn't explain to you two.
Yeah. The thing is, we try to like not talk about too much of stuff on the podcast, like both Q and Nevi have, and I think even myself, actually not me, I never done it. Whenever we have an episode, I really want to talk to Q about something, and I might even. And the thing is, I want to talk to him because I might forget it, and I'm like, oh Q, did you watch that episode? Oh yeah. Oh man, that scene was so good, right? And it's like, and then I'm like, okay, Q, we can't talk about it now. Shut the fuck up. We need to save it for the podcast, because this is like, I think half of the time when we're off, like when we sit on and we ever have our one-to-one Discord calls, there's a lot of stuff that happens like where we're sitting and talking, and I'm like, we talk for like a good like 3 hours or something, or more maybe sometimes, and it's just like, this would have been a great podcast episode.
There's no content. Also, in the chat is saying that Rotten Tomatoes apparently locked the audience rating for this show at 6%, or apparently it would be lower. So they're protecting the show apparently. I'm not sure why. I mean, granted, this is coming from the chat, but we trust our chat. So at the end of the day,
I do have to say one thing though. If you have a show like this, people speculate. I want to hear both your opinions on this. People speculate that they might have made the show bad on purpose. Let me finish before you guys get on. They might make the show bad on purpose to then have it so that people would watch it. Does that make sense? Like it's like it's bad enough so people will come back just to like laugh at how bad it is. But I do think if it's just bad as it is, and you want to make an income off of it, even if it's bad, right?
Well, okay. So my opinion on that is that you can definitely see that with this show. If you don't mind, I'm gonna go into my opinion of it a little bit with this.
Yeah, no problem.
But I was gonna say that like you can kind of see that a little bit with the show, that they were trying to make it very, very almost trendy. Like they were trying to like talk about a lot of American issues in a way that was comedic. So the writing itself, I have to say, is very, very, very questionable. But I do have a lot of things about not a lot, but I have a few things about the show that I particularly like. So a lot of the humor in this show, whenever it came to American activism and American politics, was funny. I found myself laughing, blowing air out of my nose a few times throughout the show based on stuff that they were saying. Orville's changes, there's a whole argument to be made about representation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like blackwashing characters, right? But whenever it comes to like pointing out a lot of the irony and a lot of the issues with American feminism and activism, right? I thought they did that very well, even if it wasn't their intention. Like I'm not sure if the author was trying to make us side with a little bit more radical leaning feminism and activism. Or if they were making fun of it, but it didn't. But their focus on it was very, very, in my eyes, very good. I enjoyed that part of
it. Someone in chat is hello Daniel, is saying the actress that plays Velma basically wanted to self-insert into Scooby-Doo. Thoughts on that?
That's very weird. I would think that they would it would be better if she got her own character. instead of like them making.
But she's also they're the same race. She's also kind of like not very. I mean,
Isn't Mindy
Velma's like-
Indian? The actress who plays.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And Velma.
Oh,
is
yeah,
also,
Velma is Indian in the show. That's true.
Yeah, in the show. I actually have a question for you both. How do you guys feel about the whole like, what was it like changing the race of the person sort of thing?
I think
not only in this show but in general. Like what are your thoughts?
I have a lot of experience talking about this very thing. You know, I've actually written a lot about it too, and talked about it with a lot of people. Whenever it comes to representation, like you know, in Black spaces and Hispanic spaces, right? You know, and in even fighting in gaming spaces. So I think like representation where a character's race is just swapped is very, very poorly done. And in a lot of cases, in this case, Velma and Norville, right? I don't really see it as true representation. So my poster boy for really good representation and a really good Black character, that inspires a lot of others. A lot of people try to mimic this one all the time. Is if you guys have seen Into the Spider-Verse, Miles Morales.
I was gonna say
Miles Morales is a 10 out of 10 for being Black representation. And the reason for it is because he never once states that he's Black. They never make it an issue that he's Black. They never bring up color, right? But everything that he does, and even from the beginning of the movie when he's on screen, shows it. Like they do a very good job of showing and not telling, which is really good writing. Like show it, don't tell it. You hate it when people say stuff happens off screen. You hate it whenever people talk about a war, but we don't get to see it, right? You know, things about that, right? Whenever it comes to anything in fiction. Like when Miles was first put on screen, what was he doing? He was drawing in his signature art style, which was very graffiti and colorful, which has heavy ties to the Black community. He was listening to hip hop music, which is very heavy ties to the Black community. And when he was going to school, even in his uniform, he was wearing Nikes. Very, very, very big thing in African American community, and all that stuff ended up showing him. Showing that he was African American, right? And when me and my friends saw that, when me and my girlfriend at the time saw that, we were like, "Damn, that was sick!" Like we actually felt happy to see that, you know, they did us justice. Velma and Norville, on the other hand, they don't really like, you know, it was just a palette swap. Like, you know, Norville, I'd say whenever it comes to his personality, the one thing that makes him different from the OG Shaggy is that he is trying to very steer clear of the whole like Shaggy being associated with weed thing. He makes this like a very big thing in the first few episodes. He's like, I do not approve of weed. I don't approve of weed. I don't like 420. Oh, I'm mad that stoners are the ones watching my podcast. You know, things like that. So like, you know, I just think.
Oh, does he actually say that?
He does. Yeah. He does say that. And like, I think the first or second episode, where he basically I think he got tricked into going to sell like a kidney or something, and then people break it and like, oh, isn't that Norville?
Yeah, isn't that from Norville Snacks? Yeah.
And then he's like, God damn it, stoners listen to my podcast.
Stoners again. This is what I did when I did that blog post for Lil Wayne. Yeah. So like, you know, I think the representation is pretty poor whenever it comes to these characters in specific. It's just unnecessary. The self-insert for Mindy Kaling, I guess, is sweet if she likes it. But Shaggy didn't have to be Black. Like, that's just my thoughts.
I want to hear Q's opinion on it a little bit then. Q, if you have any
to be frank, I strongly agree with Nev about this because I don't like a palette swap character at all for me, and it doesn't matter which way they swing, whether they go from Black to white to Black, whatever have you, and so forth. I think the ethnicity of a character, especially an established character that's been around for a while, that people have already formed a connection with and all that, I think it's something that you just sort of like you accept. You know, it's like, I think to an extent it's like if people started like, because I think there was a lady who did this, like started just like changing their skin color, you know, like using stuff to darken their skin and then saying that, hey, I'm Black, right? You know, because I have painted my skin and darkened it. People would call foul. They'd be like, what the frack are you doing? Like, are you serious? Like, that is so offensive. And I think it's the same thing with a character like this from, because these characters, to a certain extent, they are people to a certain extent because of the factor of they've existed for so long. People already have an emotional sort of like relationship with these characters in the sense of like you grew up with the character, you understand the character, you like the character, you hate the character, and so forth. Like one of my least favorite characters in Marvel is Captain America. Can't stand the guy. But if someone just decide, you know what, Captain America is black, right? Like you take Steve Rogers himself as the character and just he's Captain America now.
That's happened. That's happened.
No, I know that there's they turned Falcon into Captain America,
Yeah,
but
Captain America.
the thing is Falcon was already an established character and he took up the mantle. He is not Steve Rogers. There's a difference between him taking up the role of Captain America or him being, because in the same way like Miles Morales took up the role of Spider-Man, but he's not Peter Parker. He's not Spider-Man. If Miles Morales was Peter Parker, it'd be stupid. Like I'd be like, I don't like Miles Morales. I don't care what you do with him. I wouldn't like him because he's not Peter. To me, it's like he's not Peter and he never will be. And I think I think that's the thing. It's like you can have a character sort of like take on the embodiment of another character, their mantle, I guess, but not be them. And in the case with like Velma and the characters from this, they are them. They've taken their names and their identity and all that kind of stuff, and they just say, okay, this person just is black now. That's just who the character is. This person is you know, Asian now or whatever have you.
Thank you. If I can ask, so you're saying that with Captain America, if they just made him black, because you were saying you don't like him as a character, maybe because of XYZ reasons, and if they just turn him black, you wouldn't like him more or less. It wouldn't.
No, I would actually like. The thing is, like, I don't like Captain America, but I would hate it. I would hate his character even more if they just made Steve Rogers like black. And my reason for not liking Captain America is because he's the lamest superhero ever. All the guys is a shield, right? That's my like, oh, he's lame. You know, it's not like oh my god, like I hate Captain America because he did something to me. No, he's just lame, right?
We'll talk about that later.
I'm gonna leave that for another time.
But the thing is, to finish my point, the thing is that I've already formed my relationship with Steve Rogers as a character. He is Captain America. Right. He's Steve Rogers. He's the guy, right? And so if someone was to just say, okay, well, Steve Rogers is black now, and then just throw it out there, Steve, that wouldn't hit the same way for me. It would be like you've taken something, you've ruined something. It's not as authentic as to who he is, you know. And also, I think it adds nothing as well. Like there's no value gained by changing a character because
that was my biggest point. Actually, you can keep going. I don't want to interrupt you if you had something else to say.
Yeah, so what I was saying is there's no value added by just changing someone's skin color. Like no value is gained from doing something like that. I think in a sense, it's like if you create a character who's created just to be who they are, then that's and the character is good and we like the character, awesome. So like for example, if they wanted to do this series justice, it could have been maybe Velma has a kid. And that's Velma's kid, who's the you know, the leader of Mystery Inc. or whatever. And so that way it's not, they haven't taken the original characters, they've just sort of like started something new, something fresh, and it's connected to the original series in some way, shape, or form. If they want to make that connection, that is. But realistically speaking, what it is, and I think what Ray mentioned earlier, maybe it has something to do with the whole creating something that people hate kind of thing. Maybe that has a part to play in it and so forth. But yeah, I think it's just not I think there's no value added from making the characters color different or, you know, ethnicity different. Like I see no value gained by the show.
I just wanted to add to representation is also a really big thing if the character's skin color matters for a certain reason. So like if you're gonna make a character black, right? Actually make that matter somewhat for part of their story. Every black character that I consider having good representation had being black or, you know, their ethnicity, right, important to them for some reason. Like for instance, Black Lightning is another really good example. His origin story involves him being a school teacher in a very, very bad area, like, you know, one that was a predominantly black area. Right. And that ended up causing, you know, the events that transpired that made him Black Lightning. You know, that was a big part of his character. And a lot of people ended up discriminating against him. And then he ended up becoming friends with Batman, so on and so forth. Right. And this is the OG one I'm talking about, not this TV show one. But the TV show one does him justice, too. I haven't really watched a lot of the TV series for Black Lightning. But from what I did watch, they did end up making making it matter for his character because it did. Something that comic books do whenever it comes to their characters is usually they follow usually they are meant to either fight America's enemy, like if they're from an American comic book, they're meant to fight America's enemy, or they're meant to send a message when it comes to America, like when it comes to American politics or society in some way. Black Panther is another good one. It's very important, and it's stated over and over how important it is that he is Wakandan. That's just that's just good representation all around all of those characters. Norville, it's not. Velma, it's not.
Yeah, they don't
do anything with their race.
There's no and I think the thing as well, I think what makes it good,
I need to add something. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you. But I have to say, I actually like how this podcast is going. It's really I think even though the show is maybe not in both your guys' tastes, I actually I really like it. I just wanted to say, if I could add anything to it, because I do have a semi follow up question, I guess. And it is for me personally, in regards to if they have their skin tones or their race that should be being changed, or their I don't know, even like their sexual preference. For me personally, I think I'm a bit different to you guys on this take, because I would okay. So firstly, I understand why some characters, let's say like Scooby-Doo characters, they're all white, because I'm pretty sure the makers were white, and it's the same thing with like some other TV shows, like they're like the whole family is white. And then if you have like something like, I don't know, like memes, like memeing on this a little bit, but like Cory in the House, like of course all the families, like everyone in that family is going to be mostly black, right? Or like Fresh Prince or whatever. And that's usually how shows are run. And for me personally, I prefer to see diversity in characters. Now, that being said, I understand why it's upsetting for people. And something that was funny is when I brought this up with Nevi, that I like I like the show and I wanted to do a podcast on it. The first thing he asked was like, "You like the show?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I do like it." And the first thing he said was like, "But did you grow up watching Scooby-Doo? I thought that was like your era." And I'm like, "I did. It was actually like maybe like 10 years even before, like 5 to 10 years before I like started like watching it. People already were, like Scooby-Doo was already popular. But definitely when I was growing up, it was like very, very popular. Even to the point where my dad knows who it is, right? And he doesn't like really watch TV at all, but he likes watching Scooby-Doo. And for me personally, I think like representation of people like the points you guys brought up is very good overall, like especially with like with Black Panther and like I guess I don't really like that people push their like agenda and politics into like games and shows and stuff too much. I feel like that should be separated, but I do like the positivity of them, of characters being diverse in a good way. So for me personally, there's like a good way and a bad way. A bad way, for example, would be if they made Velma, okay, spoilers, I guess, but we're already obviously spoiler warning. I guess I have to maybe point that out, but it's a bit too late for that. But like, let's say if Velma was like gay or lesbian or whatever, and that's all she was, like that is her only character trope, I would have hated Velma much more, right? Like if that was, or it doesn't even have to be Velma, it could be like any show. You take fucking Peter Parker if he was in love with Harry or some shit, right? And his main love interest is the freaking like like Green Goblin. His dad doesn't approve, and it's like it's like a love battle. Spider-Man, the gays, and it's just like, and I don't know if you're gonna laugh at it. For me, it would be very terrible if it was just the whole narrative, like you know what I mean, like if it's not Peter Parker anymore, it's gay Peter Parker. It's like, oh,
as an LGBT man myself too, I have like a very huge thing about this show whenever it comes to like all of this. Like I think this is my main gripe. But if Q had something to say,
no. But the thing is that what you're saying right there is essentially what Nev and I have been saying. Is like, this is not Velma. This is the Indian Velma. It's like they're very on the nose about who these characters are, and they talk about it, but not in a constructive way. It's not like it's like Nev said before. It's better to show than to tell. With these characters, they tell who they are. They talk a lot about who they are, and understandably, it makes sense why they would, because this is a satirical series. It's comedy. It's supposed to be, at least. It's like,
if I can add one thing though, for me it's like Velma being Indian, as opposed to you guys, it doesn't affect me. at all, or never, or Norville being black. But hear me, right?
They also didn't show it either. Like something they if you look at Velma's house, right, or Norville's house, it's like white architecture and white furniture and white fashion. It's like nothing. There's nothing out there that speaks to you like this is an African American household. This is an Indian household. Like nothing.
Well, there is some households in like even in America, like you can have like a black family with like very white architecture.
I mean, yeah, you can, but it's not that common either.
You don't think so?
I think it is. I think it is.
I would say it's more common than you think.
I think it's more common than you think as well. I agree with it. Like it's more like how your house looks doesn't usually reflect your.
Yeah, but usually okay. But what I'm saying though is that like usually there are some traditional things in it that like are indications.
I like give me an example of something that's traditional in an African American house.
In an African American household. All right, let's see.
Having cocoa butter near like near where you change your clothes maybe or something, and you have like
it's like for Caribbean household, like there are certain things that you will like. I remember the first time I was like video chatting with Rare one time, and I saw like a tin of like Milo on the countertop, and I was like, this guy's from the Caribbean. Instantly, because it's so common in the Caribbean for someone
I thought it was a dinosaur. What the fuck?
Well, that too, but it's so common to see a tin of Milo because that's what most kids grew up, drinking basically when you're younger. So when I saw it, it kind of reminded me of home in that to that extent. But so I get where you're going with it, but I don't know what's traditional in an African American household kind of thing. Like for me, I've visited friends who are African American in the US, and I couldn't pick up on anything that wouldn't be the same in any other household. Other than maybe if their pictures had pictures of them in it. Maybe you're in an African American household and you have pictures of just random white people in your frames, and you're like, oh wow, who the frack are these people?
But just real quick, back to my point. So for me personally, I think it doesn't affect me that much in this show, and I would actually be more annoyed if Velma was overtly Indian or if Daphne was overtly Asian or whatever. Just because, like, not if it was done well, right? So if they made Norville like from Trinidad and Tobago and they had a Trinidad actor, I would have been like, fuck yeah, I'd be like, let's go, fucking Shaggy, Norville, fucking Rasta man, let's fucking go, like however they want to post him, and if he was like the high generic, Jamaican or Trinidadian or whatever fucking stereotype, I would have loved it. For me personally, but I do think like both you said, there needs to be like some give and take. And for me, I also feel like giving too much would be bad, and not giving enough would also be too bad. Now, maybe you both might say like, well, Velma is nothing Indian, but like she does talk about her dad, and Indian dads are very like, well, I won't say Indian dads. I would say a lot of dads are like this. I don't think this is maybe just a specific Indian thing, but for example, maybe like a lot of dads might be just like, they wouldn't care about like what their like how their daughters like feel or their sons feel. I think that's a lot of like, there's a very stereotypical dad, like a male dad representation thing, and probably if anyone would know, it would be cute that would be able to tell me about this, right? Like you're a dad and I'm a dad, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, Nevi, you're still a virgin, so it's okay. But
yeah, okay.
Oh, sorry, I'm a virgin too, right? On this podcast. For me personally, I do think if they made them very, very like overtly like extra, I think that would have been bad as well. And for me, I have, because it's like I guess my follow-up question would be like, what if they made them 4 new characters? Like instead of Velma, it's Belma, and instead of Shaggy, it's Baggy, and instead of fucking Fred, it's Bread. I just changed all the names because Boruto starts with B, if you're wondering.
But that's essentially what they did. It's like they take these characters and they've just changed their complexions and said, okay, well, this is something new. It's not.
Or what if it's like Velma's? What if it's like Velma? Let's say sorry for cutting off. Well, let's say it's Velma's daughter and her husband is an Indian guy. No, Velma is like half Indian, and Daphne has like she never got with Fred or whatever, and she's her boyfriend is Asian, I guess, and etc., etc., etc. And I guess Fred just marries a white girl and has a.
At that point,
Would that affect their race and how they act?
It would. I don't know, but that just seems like a very weird narrative decision. Like, why?
It's a weak. The thing is, the show is this whole concept of what they've done is weak. I think there was no reason. Like, I think if this show was as it is now, but didn't have anything to do with the original Mystery Inc. Sort of like names and characters,
Sure.
it would still be what it is now. But I think it would have less hate towards it, or less less flack towards it, because
I disagree.
But I'd love to hear why you disagree. But the point I'm saying is, like, I think less people would have given a crap about what it is. I mean, I'm not saying that people wouldn't have had a problem with it, because its writing is the writing in the show is problematic. But at the same time, I think because there's already as I say, like, a relationship people have formed with the characters from the Mystery Inc. thing, that brings a lot of negative connotation. As like, I used Captain America before as an example. If you just change Captain America black, I'd have a problem with him. But if you have a character who's taken up the mantle of Captain America, I'm not too bad about that.
So use my example then. Like, let's say they're just the kids of the Mystery Inc. squad, right?
If they're just the kids of the Mystery Inc. squad, I would have less of an issue with
it. And it's like, because Scooby's a dog, he's only living for like 13 years or something, so he's already passed away, and I don't know, fucking Scrappy doesn't exist or whatever. And then you just have like the kids of Mystery Inc. and then Velma goes missing, and it's called Velma because the mom is Velma and they're looking for Velma, because you could literally just replace. That might be good, but again, if they still have the same writing, like how they write the story about, in the sense of like, there's a lot of like. Well, we should talk about that as well. There's a lot of the race thing, and yeah. But I think there's a lot of I guess, like, on your nose activism in the show, and I think I think to a certain extent, it's just too much. Like, you're watching it and it's like, why is it that they have to point out every little thing? And it's not, for me, I don't find it as funny. Like, I like satire. I like when people make fun of things that happen in real life and stuff like that. But I think the way in which it's done in this show, it's sort of like, it's too much. It's like, yeah, it can be funny for a joke here or a joke there, but I think when you keep hammering at it over and over and over and over again, and that's all that the show is about, it's sort of like, it's like someone preaching to you. It's like your parents lecturing you and telling you, hey, you know what? You should clean your room. And they keep going on and on and on and on and on. Eventually, it's just like, oh, God, just shut up. That's basically what this show is like. It's like, it goes on and on and on with the same points for too long. And if they're trying to, if the sort of like motive of the show is to try to make people more tolerant or accepting of something, that's not working. You're not going to make people become more... what's the word for it? More tolerant because of something like that. And I'll give you a good example. Yesterday, I just want to make this point really quickly. Yesterday, I was out with family at a park, and we ran into this lady from Lithuania, right? Yep. And we were talking because her kid was playing with a nephew of mine, and she just like, somehow the conversation got to the point where she was like, people in Lithuania are super racist, right? Because her kid is mixed race, right? So her husband is black and she's Lithuanian. And she's going on about how racist people are in Lithuania, even to this day, right? And she's talking about this, but while we're talking, she gets to the point where she starts talking about her family. And she starts mentioning basically that there are certain racial biases that her family took with regards to her partner and her kid initially, and it's not like they hated them or anything like that. It was more like their opinions were a certain way because they didn't understand or know. So, like, for example, when her kid was born, she was like, her mom said, oh, it's a normal baby, not out of spite or hate or anything like that, but she just didn't know. And I think the thing is a lot of times if you want to do good representation, for me, what I believe is that show the characters like Nev said, basically show what the life is like and stuff like that, like the example of Miles Morales. And so that way people can connect to the characters and so forth. They can connect and say, oh, and when you do meet a person of that ethnicity, you then have already a predisposed opinion of them that is a positive opinion that you can think, oh, okay, great. Because a lot of people see some, like, for example, African-American people represented in shows from the US, and then they think to themselves, oh, all black people behave that way because of the fact that that is how
they are portrayed in a lot of shows from there, maybe from back in the 90s or whatever have you, where they're loud and they act, they all like rap and so forth. Like that's a thing where it's not true, but that's how people are perceived from people who don't know, who grew up in the country, who've never met a person of color before. Their opinion has already been made from the media that they consume. And if the media they consume now is the stuff that you see now, that's heavy on the whole, like, let me preach to you kind of stuff, it's just gonna be like, these people are just annoying, you know. And rather than it just be, let's just show what silk chocolate people are like. Let's see what they're, you know, the regular day thing. Because I know on my day to day, I'm not walking around telling people that, you know what, like, man, the struggle is real. You know, like, that's not what I'm doing on a day to day, right? And I'm sure most of you are not doing the same thing either. You're not going around saying, oh man, the struggle is real. No, you just live a normal life. You're a normal person. I think that's the thing. And the only difference is, you may, like, say you may have an encounter with, like, if you live in the US, you may have an encounter with the police or something like that. But at the end of the day, the rest of your day to day is a normal day to day, you know, from that perspective. And I say normal in comparison to anyone else from the US for the most part. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not from the US, so Nev will probably be able to say more on that.
Well, whenever I do think a Black experience on a day-to-day basis, I would say, like, yeah, it's normal. Maybe.
Nevi, sorry, one sec. I was just going to say that. But we also have to take into account that it's not only I know that the show is in America. Just real quick, I know the show is based around America, but I do think even America, and yes, I'm pointing this towards Americans. Like, there are other Black people who live in predominantly white countries, for example, like Sweden and stuff. So I do think that how people are portrayed, like, for example, consumed in media in America, it's a certain way, but I think not even Black people know what it's like to be a Black person in Sweden. You know what I mean? Like, a Black American wouldn't know what it's like to be Black in Sweden. So it's very, like, it's very different. That's the only point I wanted to say. But yeah, sorry, Nevi.
You're right for mentioning that. Actually, that's I think that's solid.
I would say our days normally, like, 90% of the time, it is normal. But there are the odd days, like the 10%, where you can feel, you know, the racial profiling, the negativity, the difference between you and Caucasian Americans. Like, I still have this happen to me today, and I try to. Well, I mean, I think I look pretty scary now. People tell me that, and this isn't me trying to sound badass or anything. I just, like, I don't know. People say I have, like, an imposing appearance, and it might be because of my piercings and hair, if anything. But, like, I still have people cross the street when they see I'm walking toward them. I've had people follow me in stores before, in big stores, you know, things of that nature. So it's like, yeah, my day can be normal. But, you know, even, like, on the bus, sometimes people will stare, right? I'll walk down the middle of the bus to get a seat, and people will stare at me the whole way down, even though I'm, like, wearing my work clothing. You know, things like that. So there definitely are differences and things that people just don't empathize with.
You know, 3 of those things happened to Milena as well, just to let you know.
Yeah. But you know the thing about it is,
in Sweden as well. But yeah,
you know the thing about it is, Nev, what I'm not, like, being able to show that as a character, like, maybe they do a show and there's a character that's Nev the character, and as he's walking in the bus, you know, people look at him, you know, but they don't say, oh, he's saying, oh, you know what, when I'm on the bus, people always look at me, you know, I feel so uncomfortable. But he's just on the bus, and you can see, like, maybe he just shrivels up as he goes onto the bus, and, you know, as he sits down, you can see, like, through his posture and stuff like that, he's a bit uncomfortable about the whole fact of people look at him and they're staring at him in that sort of sense. That is more, that would connect more with an audience, because of the fact they're like, ooh, you can see it, and it's not someone just preaching to you. Because like, even if like Ray was mentioning, you know, there are Black people in so many countries that are predominantly white and so forth. It's something that people of color do a lot when you go to, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but when you go to a new country, right, the first thing you do before you leave is you Google Black and you put the name of the country. And the reason you do it is to basically find out, okay, how racist is this country, basically? Because there's going to be some person who's made a video saying, like, you know, I've been in France for this amount of time and blah, 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 and this is how I'm treated, you know? Or, you know, if you're visiting Sweden, this is what you want to do. And so literally every time I visit a new country that is predominantly white, I Google, you know, Black and so on YouTube. And there are tons of videos like that. where people are sharing their experiences from whatever country it is, Sweden, Poland, France, Germany, whatever have you. And it gives you a sort of like an idea of what to expect. What do you think, to a certain extent of like how to expect to be
I'm not
treated.
gonna lie, I've never done that. I know Melina's done it for Malta when it comes to Brazilian people, but she didn't like.
I think it's different for you, Ray, because the thing is that one, you grew up in a sense like you're mixed, right? You're mixed with white and black, and you could pass to a certain extent if your hair's cut to a certain way or whatever have you. And not just that, you've also been connected to the Swedish culture for a while, like this European culture you've had for a while because of the fact that you'd go back and forth between Europe and the Caribbean growing up as a kid. So there's a complete difference to how you would see it, because I guess that makes you an outlier because of how you were raised around it, basically. Whereas like for someone who's predominantly grown up, like for example in TT in the Caribbean and never really gone to Europe, you're wondering like, okay, I've never really been around a lot of as many white people to that extent. How will I be treated as this outlier? And I think it's sort of like a research thing. It's like you want to be sure, because I don't think, like, for example, for most, and I may be wrong, I don't think for most white people when they go to the Caribbean or something on vacation, they're not thinking, oh my God, what could happen to me kind of thing. They're thinking like, oh, I'm going to go and sip pina coladas on the beach or something. Whereas for a person of color, you're thinking like, oof, I could go here and somebody could racially attack me. Like I could just be jumped. Like I remember when I went to Germany, that's the first thing I'm thinking about. I'm like, holy shit, what if someone jumps me on the train and stuff like that? Because I'm watching videos online where people are talking about their experiences with shit like that, So I'm like, I gotta be wary and look around and be careful of where I go and what time and all this sort of stuff.
If I can add something to that, for me, Sweden, I felt very. I felt more profiled in Sweden than in any other country, and I've been to like France and Germany and Denmark and a lot of other countries, Switzerland, Switzerland and Austria as well. And maybe because I was younger, so I don't know if it really counts, but I definitely felt like as a teenager profiled. And when I moved to Malta, I mean, I get confused for Maltese, but I do get profiled a lot even here, and I do get profiled a lot even in Trinidad and Tobago, in my own country, right? So if anything, I would probably get profiled more in Sweden and in Trinidad and Tobago than all the other countries I just listed. And when I was younger, I just didn't give a fuck what people thought, because for me, I was like, yo, fuck y'all. And I don't give a fuck what other people think. Like you're the racist one, not me, That was my mentality. And like if they attack me, well, I don't know. Like younger Rare didn't give a fuck about that shit. Like now I'm more like careful about anything.
You're like, oh my God, I have to survive. I'm a potato. What if they put me in a pot? Put me with some pumpkin or something.
No, I wouldn't mind that. It's just like because I have a kid now. I think maybe.
I know you have a kid. That's the point. I was just joking about it. But exactly, when you have when you have family and you have something to live for more. When you're younger, you have nothing to live for. You can like it and then such is life. But when I
think you're just more stupid as well.
You are. There's a sort of naivety about how the world works and all that kind of stuff, and you are unaware of stuff. Like there's a lot of shit I did as a kid that I would never do at my age now, because of the fact that I have a lot more understanding of the world and how things work and stuff like that.
Exactly.
But as you get older, you do come to a point where like, and the more you have in your life, the more you want to protect it. So
let's segue off of our real lives and let's move on to things we dislike about the show. And I think maybe we'll do like a full swing on this. I think would be good, but I think maybe Never you should start on this one.
Yeah, I agree.
Q, and then you can rotate back to me again. I think because I think you have some good points. Well, I don't know. I don't know them yet, but yeah. So things that we like. We'll talk about the like part after. Just things that we don't like what people should expect, maybe. Or
if you are a well-adjusted human being, this is one of the that is a very weird way to start it, but I'm going to stick with it. If you are a well-adjusted human being, you are going to have the same opinions I do about this. And this is one of the most egregious things when it comes to the writing of the show that a lot of people are giving flack to the authors about. One of the big subplot of the show, with like the main plot of the show is fine. I don't really have a lot of big objections to it. It actually did hold my attention. You know, it made me curious, as murder mysteries tend to do. So that's fine. But the subplot of the show is incredibly 0 out of 10 bad, negative 10 out of 10 bad. Because what it does is it's meant to we're like, the whole subplot is us trying to figure out Velma's sexuality, right, and her being sexually and romantically involved with the other characters in the show.
So that's the bad part you're saying.
Yeah. So the reason why this subplot is incredibly bad is because of the age of the cast of characters is 15. They go into so much depth. Like, they talk about sexual jokes, right? Velma makes a jab at Daphne about her wanting to be friends with benefits. Like, it's all really weird and really creepy stuff, even though it's from a female author. And you know, it's a lot of stuff. It's something that made a lot of people uncomfortable. Like, it made me uncomfortable physically. Like, I was physically like turning my head away from the screen, trying not to listen to it whenever they would bring any of this stuff up, because I'm like, why do I care about this? Like, why do I care about teenagers, like minors, making out with each other? Why do I care about, like, you know, them being fucking confused about who they like, right, and stuff like that. And this aspect of the show made it hard for me to like a few characters. Fred was completely unlikable from the beginning compared to his OG self, which was very likable. Norville was like going from being manipulative to not manipulative, so far, like, so on and so forth, just for Velma's approval, and that shit was creepy. Like, why are we focusing on this shit?
But
it was completely unnecessary, bro. It's like a weird pedophilic dream almost. Like, that shit is like. Yeah, like, it was that bad. Like, even the show even starts with them talking about how they're like sex symbols and like how sex sells, and then they start arguing about whether, right, you know, the show should keep its sexual undertones, mostly overtones at this point, throughout the whole thing. Like, why? Like, I didn't want to start the show and then see a bunch of teenagers in the shower. Like, that shit's so weird.
I need to hear Q's point on this, because
I think the thing is this is one of the points where I don't agree with. So far, I've been agreeing with Nev. This is one of the times where I don't, and I think the reason is that I never saw the characters as teenagers.
As kids, yeah.
I think the thing is that the way in which the characters were portrayed in the show. For one, I didn't even know that they were 15 or whatever the frack age they claim to be. These characters all look like
they're in high school.
Like, again. So for me. Not having any prior information regarding this thing, I'm watching the show and these characters. You know how like sometimes you'd have shows from back in the day where the actors were supposed to be teenagers, but you can clearly see these are grown ass men and women. You know, you watch the show and it's like, that's a grown ass fucking man. Like, that's a grown ass woman. You know, like, literally that's how these characters come across. So for me, it's like, bro, I never. So, like,
I can see what you're saying, but like, well, this is quick. I can see what you're saying, but like, bro, the heights of the adults compared to the main cast are like, so there was like a huge disparity.
There's like, that height difference, but again, like, most of the time, it's not like the show. A lot of the time, they're standing with an adult or whatever have you. A lot of the time, like, for example, the opening scene where they're in the shower, right? There's no adults there. It's just those characters. So yeah, essentially,
they're in a high school gym.
Again, the show starts. I have no prior knowledge of this show. All I know is that it starts off with these girls in a shower, you know, talking about, you know, about sexuality and all that kind of stuff in the shower. Honestly, my brain isn't like, this is a high school gym or whatever, because prior to that, we didn't know they were in school or anything like that. And at the end of the day, it's just like, these people and there's some for me, it's like, what I started thinking about, wait a minute, is this the same show that, like, is this the like, are they trying to do a Game of Thrones thing? Like, you know, there's a bunch of naked people on the screen, like, or like the screen goes by and like, wait a minute, did they show that character's boob on, like, is this the type of show this is? That's where my brain was. Like, I was like, wait a minute, you know, like, whereas I'm not thinking, are these children and stuff like that. And I think the other thing too, to add to that, is that I think when it comes to sexuality, there's a huge difference between how sexuality is perceived in the US compared to the rest of the world. You know, I think it's really taboo in the US to talk about sexuality and stuff like that. Whereas in other countries, not all of them, but there are a lot of other countries where it's like, yeah, normal. Like, no one really bats an eye about it to a certain extent. I remember the first time when, like, one of my friends from Sweden, who Renos, Roger, shout out to That Beautiful Life if you guys listen to my other podcast. But I remember the first Sorry.
No, just doing. Go on.
So I remember the one of the time when I started watching Game of Thrones, and I was talking.
Can I say something real fast?
Uh,
You know, before the scene where like all of the characters are in that shower, they show the fact that they're in a high school.
Again, I wasn't paying attention to that. Again,
So
so
you were watching everything about the show before that, but then
let's just put it this way. Like sometimes you sit down to watch telly, you put on something, you lay down, you may like check your phone or something for like a split second, and then you look up. Wait a minute, is that titties on the screen? That's kind of the like I'm not watching it like when the intro is going or whatever have you. I'm not paying attention to every little detail. Like oh my god, let me just spot every little thing.
But like that.
Wait. No.
Wait. I have a question though. Like if you would have noticed that from the beginning, would that have changed? Because that like was super clear.
No,
like,
again. The thing about it is that for me personally speaking, right? I'm just gonna be just blunt about this. These are fictional animated characters. I don't give a shit. Like honestly, to me, I'm not. It's not like the characters were drawn as they look like 5-year-olds and they're talking about sex. They look like adults from the proportion sizes and everything that they drew these characters with.
Oh, they're pubescent teenagers. Of course, they're going to have more developed bodies whenever it comes to
When I was let's put this way. Let's put it this way, Norm. Like I have a 14-year-old son. And he looks like a baby. I look at my son and he looks like a baby. When I drop him to school and there are other kids with him and stuff like that around his age, they look like babies. Like to me, I see infant when I see them. What I'm saying is that the way the characters on the screen looked in the show, they look nothing like the 14 and 15-year-old kids that I see when I drop my kid off to school. They don't look like babies. They looked like adults. It's like essentially.
Bro, you're like.
Again. Okay. Okay, so let's put this way. Let's just put this way, right? If you see, for example, right, a grown woman dressed as like a toddler and stuff like that, are you gonna say, "Oh, that's a toddler," right? Because this grown woman is dressed like a toddler, or you're gonna say this is a grown woman dressed as a toddler. I'm saying these characters, despite the fact that they may have said, "Oh, these are teenagers in high school," or whatever, they don't look like teenagers. That's the thing. The characters
they haven't animated them and their personalities to reflect
exactly.
High school.
They are animated like adults. Their
personalities being teenage. I'll argue that one. Their personalities are definitely typical of what teenagers would be like in this scenario, even if it's satirical. Their appearance is something you can also debate, and this is like a bit of a problem with like the internet. A lot of teenagers are starting to look more mature. As time goes on, like before, if you look at like a picturesque teenager in like the early 2010s, right, they look way different than they do now because it's becoming normalized.
I think that may be a US thing because you guys have a lot of like chemicals and shit in your food. That may be a US thing. Mm-hmm.
I have to say that's not a US thing or whatever. In the Caribbean, I'm pretty sure when you were younger,
mm-hmm.
there is like I'm pretty sure at some point when you hit around 18, you were like, damn, bro, these 15-year-olds looking like they're my age,
mm-hmm.
or some shit. I'm pretty sure maybe not you or
mm-hmm.
someone else. You probably would say that because I said that. I was like, what the fuck? Wait,
mm-hmm.
like she's 15, but she looks like she could be 25, or he
mm-hmm.
could, you know what I mean? This dude has a fucking full facial hair, That's been one sec, bro. That's been happening throughout time. I'm pretty sure even fucking when dinosaurs existed, that shit has been happening, and I would know because I'm a dinosaur, right? So
the thing about that though is that ends up helping my point though. It doesn't matter what they look like their age has been stated. If the author really wanted to make it such a uncomfortable thing, they could have just made them college students. They could have made their age.
True.
Yeah, actually, but here's the thing.
Like it's not something that you're really able to argue that isn't a bad thing. Like this is objectively like not an okay thing.
No, I think the thing is that if you're superimposing your sexuality towards the characters, then it's a bad thing. Like if you're sexually getting attracted to the characters, then yeah, that's a bad thing. But for example, if you're portraying a show, right, and I was trying to make a point before with my friend from Sweden, is that when I started watching Game of Thrones, at one point we were talking about it, and he's like, "Oh, he's watching it with the family, right?" And I was like, "Wait, his son was 15 years old at the time." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm watching with the whole family." And I'm thinking to myself, like, Game of Thrones has a lot of sex and shit in it. So I should have asked him, I was like, "Bro, you watch it with you watch it with Isaac?" And he's like, He's like, yeah, like the whole family watched it, and we got into a conversation about how it's not viewed in that sort of way over there in Sweden. You know, like it's at least for him and his family, it's not viewed that way. So
it really isn't.
So having that conversation, like watching a show with characters having sex in it, no one's having a boner or something with their kid next to them. It's just sexuality is not seen as taboo there. You know, it's like you're watching the show and it's a story. So let me finish the point. It's a whole story about the show. The characters are just portrayed in a realistic representation as how real people exist and real people. Because when I was 15 years old in school, we talked about girls. Right, we talked about girls. Friends would ask you all sort of stuff. Have you ever seen, some lady bits and stuff like that? And you chat about that kind of stuff. You know, like that's what people did. You know, like girls would talk about guys would talk about girls.
I'm pretty sure they do that in America as well.
Oh, and so the thing is that if you're going, if your show is supposed to represent real life, then that's just how real kids at that age would talk about or whatever have you and so forth. And if you're getting uncomfortable from it, I think it's sort of a thing of like maybe your bias, maybe it's your bias is how you it is presented in the US as sex is seen as taboo. Like for me personally speaking, I don't have any sort of false misconception that 15-year-olds don't go out there and have sex with other 15-year-olds, right?
But what the point where the characters are literally fucking nude on the screen and then sexually harassing adults, like that shit was that those two things, like I find it would be hard to argue to defend. Like them, okay, so them talking to each other about it, that's fine, but their actions didn't have to be on scrin. Like that.
I think that just has to do with your comfort zone as someone from your background, because in the same way, right? What I'm saying, you and I have had a conversation with regards to sexuality and with regards to guns before in the past, right? In other countries, the portrayal of violence and guns, let's say for example like Japan, it's seen as this taboo thing. You can't have super hyper violent games in Japan or whatever have you, because it's seen as this really taboo thing. You know, it's like, oh my God, we don't want our kids seeing this sort of violence and seeing this gratuitous sort of like, murder and heads ripping off and all that kind of stuff. So that's something that they would censor, that they would say, hey, we don't want this. But sexuality is not an issue. They're like, well, people have sex, such as life, right? And that's what I'm trying to say, is that from your background, it's more of of an issue for you, but it's not going to be the same for other people, and maybe that makes you uncomfortable, which is fine. I mean, if it makes you uncomfortable, that's perfectly fine. But I'm saying not everyone else is going to react in the same way with regards to it. As in, for example, like for me, that wasn't where it bothered me. My issues didn't come from that. My issues came from other aspects of the show.
Yeah, so here's the thing, like that's the thing. It was one of the biggest points of backlash for the people who watched it. Like that was one of their biggest complaints. It's not the only. This is a majority opinion. And like
a majority US opinion more than anything else, I would assume, because
that's the show's target audience too, though. Like because it talks about American activism more than almost everything else. Like you see that with the characters. Like in the author, right? The author wanted it to be aimed at us in some way, and she's an American as well. She should know.
Yep. To a degree, that's true, but I do think that like with most things, like people of different backgrounds and so if you have someone, let's say, I don't know, you take like your generic American, and you have like someone who's Swedish, and they see someone like having a gun or like using knives in Japan. Like we talk about Japan, for example, or like skeleton, like bones, showing like bones and stuff in like China and stuff is like highly censored. And for I think even though the target audience is American, I do think that everyone has different opinions, because I'm pretty sure South Park is targeted towards Americans mostly. There's a lot of references, a lot of jokes, but and I think Scooby-Doo, even though the target audience and the politics and all that stuff is American, like the whole world is kind of invested in America. We don't agree with the views all the time, or we don't like share the beliefs. Like you're not gonna get fucking XYZ people. You're not gonna get fucking Japan to change their 14-year-old fucking age of consent to be 18 because America thinks it's not okay or whatever. You're not gonna you're not gonna get to see all of a sudden Japan just selling guns in the stores, or Sweden or whatever. I do think if you are sexually aroused to fucking 14-year-old Scooby-Doo characters or whatever, or however old they are,
you should be arrested I mean, one, you should. I mean, if you're sexually aroused by one, these are not real. These are cartoon characters. So I mean, whatever. But if you're sexually aroused by 14-year-olds, then the FBI should have your address and, you know, they should take you in. You know, I'm just saying. You know, it's as simple as that. Go on.
The thing is, for me personally, I can separate them.
You can separate fiction from reality. Same. I can do the same thing.
Like if I saw a bunch of 15-year-olds acting like this, I would just be like let's say if I don't know, like somehow I ended up in a situation. Oh shit! I just walked in. Oh wait, this is the girls' bathroom, and there's like them doing literally everything except for the whole like body murder scene from Velma, right? Like the whole like girl falling out the locker, but like everything else, right? There's a bunch of girls fucking playing around. I would walk into that bathroom and I wouldn't just start jerking off. I would just be like, oh fuck, I'm in the wrong place. I need to leave.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I would literally just U-turn around. And if I was a fictional character, maybe I'll jerk off and fucking rainbows would come out my dick. Like, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not saying that they're sexy or anything or anything like that. I'm just saying, for me, it was more like I can look at South Park. I can see them talking about what was that fucking pedophile guy, and then they make all kinds of jokes like all the time. Like they use so much profanities.
But it's not even just a
one
joke.
One second. The thing is, if you look at South Park, their profanity, Swedish people cannot tolerate that, right? As an example, right? English people might actually tolerate it depending on what kind of profanities they use, because English people like saying cons, and I know a lot of English kids who say it around their like parents and stuff, and you know they might be like a bit laid back maybe, but I can't speak for everyone in England because I don't live there that much. I've only lived there for like 7 years or 6 years.
Yeah, my kids can't cuss in my house, but go on.
Exactly. So, and obviously from house to house it might be different, but in America, I know for a fact that there's some really like strict religious households that are like you can't go and say fuck you dad, you know, all that stuff, like how South Park characters are. But you also look at South Park characters and you don't say, oh, but these are all how old are they? They're like 8 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't act like 8-year-olds, you know, they act like fucking 30-year-old drunken gamer tards that just fucking play WoW and fucking swear at their mom for not bringing
don't
them
the kids get pregnant in South Park and all that kind of crazy shit happens?
Yeah,
not really.
There's some weird shit that
happens
in South Park.
Well, yeah.
Either way, I think my point is my point is still standing though, right? Like you have a bunch of fucking fictional characters. They don't even look sexy or whatever. Exactly. They look like fucking bouncing the little fucking balls upon balls.
So one of the biggest reasons why I say it's like a bad thing too is because it's like it doesn't have to be included either. And this is like another point that a lot of people
but it's tuned for adults, though.
It's tuned for adults, exactly. It is tuned for adults. Again, like
so that's what I'm saying. Okay, think about it. Okay, so look, think about what you guys are saying right now, right? It's a show meant for adults. Why are we focusing on the sexualization of minors?
You're focusing on it, and the show writers are.
Bro, that is the entire subplot of the show. Like half of the episodes are Velma trying to figure out if she has a crush on either Fred or Daphne. It's not even me focusing on it. The show does.
Yeah, I think we all watched the same show and we took different things from it. And the point I think that Ray and I are kind of trying to make is that the show may have presented the characters a certain way, and the subplots or whatever, how they wrote the show and stuff like that may have been presented a specific way, but how you interpret that depends on what in your background and where you come from and what you already have as your own personal biases and all that kind of stuff. Someone who is LGBT or whatever have you, their perspective of a specific character would be different than someone who's straight. You know, someone who's black.
I don't know.
Let me just finish. Can I finish, please? Someone who's black and someone who's white may perceive the same character in two different ways and so forth. Someone and I use those examples because the example that Ray gave before is that someone who grew up outside of the US does not see those characters. Like, for example, someone from a Swedish background doesn't see those characters in the same way. The way that Ray can say, hey, I can separate the fact that this is fiction and this is real life and separate the two. And I can do the same thing, but you can't, in the sense that you watch it and you're like, these are teenage characters. They're not. They're just animated things, and they you know, the whole thing is like, is it enjoyable, is it not enjoyable? I think that's the perspective of it, you know. But for you it's like, no, but these characters are minors and all this sort of stuff. I don't see them as minors. That they don't exist to me. They're just poorly conceptualized written characters that I don't really connect with in any way, shape, or form. You know.
Wait, I wanted to answer Daniel's question. I think that's fine.
Yeah, go for
it. Daniel asked if you fell in love with a 24-year-old girl who looked like an 8-year-old because of a disability. Is that okay? I think yeah.
Yeah,
I think that happens a lot. There's like a really big example about a girl who had an injury that made her look like an 11-year-old, I think, and she just recently found love because a guy wanted to take her out on a date, and he sent her flowers and stuff like that after watching the documentary about her. So I think that's fine. I think that's actually like, better than the alternative. Like, I don't think like, I'm one of the people who try to perpetuate that age doesn't matter, or that age matters. Whoa. Appearance doesn't matter. That's what I was going to say. Appearance.
FBI.
Yeah, relax. That was a misspeak.
Yep. Judge, that was a misspeak.
So I'm one of the people who tries to perpetuate that appearance doesn't matter because, like, I wasn't the handsomest guy growing up. And I've dated people that a lot of people. I've dated people. Yeah, I did. I've dated people that a lot of people would say are not very conventionally attractive. But I'm like, appearance isn't something that's very, very big on me now. When it comes to that. So, like, if there is an adult who looks like a kid, and there are a lot of them, like there are people like, that do adult films that, you could argue can look like children. Like there's an entire category for women that look like that. Petite, right? And it's fine. Like, you like what you like at that age, and nobody's getting hurt. They're two consenting adults.
Once they're consenting adults, I think that's the whole thing. Yeah. Even though I personally, for me, if you look, I think it's like how you act mentally as well. If I had to say my own like preference, but even if you're like, I don't know, man. Even if you're like the most mature person ever, if you're still like 18, I can't see, at least for myself. I could be bullshitting, but I can't see like prove me wrong, right? But I can't see myself ever like dating someone under the age of like 21 or maybe even 22 like next year, because I set my own like where my morality is. Even though I could go to Sweden and be together with like a I don't know, 15-year-old or whatever. I think everyone in Sweden would find that very weird. I would find that very weird. There might be some fuckers who are like that, men and women who because obviously pedophiles and shit exist in both genders, right? And so some people joke about it, but it's actually a fucking serious topic. But at the end of the day, let's get back to the show. Sorry, I don't know if I'm interrupting.
Yeah, I was gonna answer your question now. I was gonna say, fuck, I forgot what you said. You said prove me if I'm wrong. And before that, you said something, and then you said prove me if I'm wrong.
He was talking about if he goes back to Sweden and was to date, like he was making a sort of like a point about like the legal age in Sweden is like 15 or whatever.
Yeah. So my point was that like my morals on it, and I'm like, whenever it comes to anything I believe in, I usually try to go for things that are scientifically proven, right? If the science is there, if it's repeatable, if it's like something that is tangible, that is what I'm going to believe in, because it's the most intelligent thing. It's the one that has the proof behind it, right? So my whole thing about it is like, whatever the age is, like whatever the cutoff point is, wherever like you wouldn't be harmed by having a sexual relationship with somebody, that's the age that it's fine for you to start doing whatever. So people, America has judged that the age of consent should be 18, mostly because like at that point in your life, you can have a sexual relationship with other people, even ones that are older than you, without suffering like developmental problems or like brain problems. Because that's the reason why pedophilia is so harmful and people are like cracking down on it, because like once you start doing that kind of thing to children, it ends up fucking them up later down the line. End up having like problems like hypersexuality, things that make it hard for them to be functioning.
Can I add to that, because you said something there where you said America has decided, and
I meant as a specific. I mean not for the whole world, or not like compared to anything else.
And that's what I was trying to make a comparison, because I think the biggest the biggest comparison to that, because like for me, growing up in Trinidad and Tobago, again, for us, the age of consent is 18 as well. Like you have to be 18 years old.
As well, yeah.
So for me, one of the things, like a mate of mine moved to Japan, and we were talking about his experience living in Japan and so forth, and how uncomfortable it is for him as a man living in Japan with regards to younger girls, because he's telling me of these experiences where young girls, by the time they hit 15 or whatever have you, they're old grown men waiting outside the school gate trying to pick them up, right? And trying because that's part of their culture there. It's seen normal. It's seen as a part of the culture. He's mentioned to me, like, his female students would try to like date him, and for him it's like, it's so creepy and weird, because it's like, holy shit, like, anime is real, like, it's weird how it is. But when you're growing up watching anime, it's like, oh, it's fantasy, it's funny, nice, cool. But then when you live in Japan, it's like, holy shit, it's really weird. But at the same time, Japanese culture and stuff like that is seen as this really, really beacon of the world kind of thing, whereby they live longer than everyone else. They have a healthier lifestyle. They have a lot of good positive things that they.
It's a fucking sham, bro.
Again, as I'm saying, like, it's seen like the way I would look at it is that to each their own, depending on where you grew up. So if you're from Japan, then your perspective is based on a Japanese perspective. If you're from the US, your perspective from a US perspective. But I think the worst thing that we can do as people is try to force our perspective on other perspectives from others. So it's saying that, oh well, it's this is right because my people say it's right. I think that's where we get into that weird area where people get into conflict with each other, rather than it be like, okay, well, that's cool there, but we don't do that here, kind of thing, and then just move on with it, essentially.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, though. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, wouldn't you want to stop harm from happening, though? To people?
But that's the thing. You're saying that it's harm, but from a Japanese perspective, is it harm though? Because if they're living a good life, if they don't have like, basically what you're saying is that Japanese people are all, for the most part, mentally scarred, because that's how it is perceived.
Look at the suicide rates for Japan, and then tell me that's not the case.
Look at the suicide rate for the US. Look at the suicide rates for the US. Tell me it's not the case too.
It is.
In Sweden, the suicide rates are like in 4th or something. So,
and again,
it's a big thing everywhere.
But the point is that you basically you're making you're making a false comparison, in the sense of saying like, oh well, the suicide rate obviously has to do with the fact that that's how the age of consent.
I'd say it's a part, as well as like Japan's societal.
I think you can't. Conformity. I think you just told me that it's all about science, right? Show me the science behind it. If you can show the science behind it, then fine. But what I'm saying is that the suicide rate in Japan, from me watching documentaries on it more so has to do with the culture of the work culture. Exactly.
Yeah, I just said that.
It more so has to do with the work culture, not the way in which they view sexuality. It's more so about their work culture. So people work so hard. Like my mate's telling me about how his Japanese co-workers will stay in work even though they're finished and they have nothing else to do. They would stay in work because it's seen as taboo, it's seen as bad to leave earlier than everyone else. And so they will stay in there and wait till the last person is even for them to leave. Like that's how their work culture works. Who stays in the longest, even if they're not doing anything, that's seen as productive in Japan, and so they do that. I
think they should force that upon to America. Just Japan be like, look, your ways of slacking off.
Until if you don't leave until the last person leaves, exactly. You can't force your cultural beliefs onto other countries and say, oh, it's for safety. In the same way, like for example, the rest of the world has a strong view on the US and their gun culture, right? But we can't force our beliefs on you guys. We already can see the proof in the pudding from where we sit, safety and shit. But at the same time, we can't force our beliefs on you guys because we don't live your history. We didn't go through what you guys went through and get to the point where you guys have got to. So to try to force let's say for example, for me as a Trinidadian guy, go to the US and say, well, we need to protect the US children. Get rid of your bloody guns. No, that's not our place to do. That's for you guys to do. You guys have to sort out your own shit. That has nothing to do with us.
I was actually gonna bring up something. Sorry, Q. I was actually gonna bring up something because there is something that is very, very, very like hit and miss, and it's about, obviously, if you all know this probably by now, but me and you, Q, we talked about this a little bit, but the whole like what's that country again that they had the World Cup again? I forgot the name of it already.
Oh, Saudi Arabia. Yeah. Qatar.
No,
Qatar.
Yeah, Qatar. So it's the same thing there, right? With like the whole like how slavery is there, and or like quote unquote slavery. It is slavery, but quote unquote slavery, and like how all of that is seen. And the thing is, the whole world, like don't get me wrong, having slaves. Obviously, both you probably would agree with me on this, but having slaves is probably bad, right?
I disagree.
You disagree?
Yeah.
Really?
No, we got an Uncle Ruckus on the podcast.
I fuck with you.
It's not way too seriously, bro.
I'm gonna play. No, okay. I'm not gonna say I'm fucking around. I'm not gonna say I disagree. I'm not gonna say I agree. I'd say that it depends on context, right? Slavery based on race is obviously a big no-no, right?
But it's good in some ways, yeah.
No, that's not what I'm saying. No,
if Sweden takes
no, can I finish? Oh, wait, you're cutting me off. You're cutting me off, bro. You're cutting me off. So let me. So no. Okay. So I think like indentured servitude based on status, right? Like say you're a criminal. No matter if you're rich, poor, middle class, or whatever, right? You giving back to society as an indentured servant or slave would be okay in that instance. It already happens. It doesn't happen to it doesn't happen to the community benefit as much as it should, but we do have things like community service, right? Where you don't get paid, and the low pay rates of prisoners in America. Which is already like arguably as close to modern American slavery as you can get. Like there's already a big argument from activists going on about that, and I think if implemented well, is fine. So like I'm not against.
Wait, hold
slavery.
on.
Did you just say you're not against slavery?
Bro,
wait, one second. Wait, one second. I just want to point one thing. Slavery in America is basically just employment. Let's just be real here.
Yeah, of course, but that's not what I mean. That's
it's all about employment, right?
Yeah, that's not what I mean.
I know what you mean.
So like I said, bro, don't twist my words up. I just went on a tirade about like why the type of slavery that I'm talking about. So like whenever it comes to that brand of slavery, I'm not against it.
Preach, Uncle Ruckus, preach.
I'm not. Bro, I love black people the most, bro. I love black people.
Check Discord.
I fucking see The Rock. I see Dwayne The Rock Johnson, bro. Anyway, so this is me sort of playing devil's advocate. This is me sort of like, but so like I said, yeah, slavery based on race, like what happened in America is never okay. But like, whenever it comes to criminal slavery, I think it's better. I think it could be a benefit to society.
I think like there's a side of me that agrees with you on certain things, but I wouldn't. I don't want to use.
Yeah, it depends.
Let me make my point. I don't want to use those words. I don't call it slavery when for example, let's say for example like someone murders someone's mom or something, right? I think that person should have to work the rest of their life to take care of that person's family. Like in a sense, they have a 9-to-5, but their money goes towards that because they've taken away a life that would have provided you. But you basically given up what you have because you've taken something. You're basically just paying back what you've done essentially. But at the same time, right? I believe that. If I'm correct,
Wait, what if you go on a mass shooting and then you kill like 50 people?
Then you gotta work even harder. It's more difficult, right? You gotta put in them hours. You got if you kill 50 people, then you have to start working like a US person works. You have to have 5 or 6 jobs just to put the lights on.
Damn, bro. I feel attacked, bro. And the crazy thing is, I don't even hate America, bro. I just wish it could be better. But I was gonna say though, like I think like it's heavily based on context. Like if a person is something that like this is like going into the prison system, but something that I think that needs to change at the prison system is like trying to figure out who can be who can be made better after their incident. Like if they're dealing with a mental illness, I'd say like what's it? I think like if a person could be like institutionalized and then like have themselves be saved, and then in that instance, right, then they'd be then they become an indentured servant or like a slave, and they'd be able to give back to society. I don't want just blatant imprisonment. Like the way Sweden does it is a lot better than the way America does it, because they try to turn their criminals back into functioning members of society.
Sweden hard.
And I say the death sentence is like the worst thing, for a few reasons. So like the biggest one, is like, sometimes like it ends up coming back, and we end up finding out that the person didn't do it, even though there was like 9 out of 10 pieces of evidence. 9 out of 10 pieces of evidence that pointed to them doing it, but it turned out they were a lookalike, right? And then now we ended up killing somebody and taking them from their family when they had nothing to do with the crime.
That's true. I think the whole criminal system over there is a bit wonky,
so, like,
because one of the things that I remember watching something where there was a girl who accused a guy of raping her. And then years later she admitted it wasn't true, and he finally got out of prison. And he was like, I forgive her, like but he was like this big superstar, like football player or something like that. He could have like made it in the NFL or whatever, and he lost his career and everything like that. And he's like, you know what? After my time in there, like I don't hold any grudges and stuff. Fam, if it was me, I'm sorry, I don't care how long I was in there.
I'm a start raping. I'm just saying, I'm a start raping.
I'd sue her for defamation for sure.
And that's the thing. He didn't even do any of that. He was just like, you know what? It's like, I forgive her. I was like, fuck that shit, right? Like you took my life from me. I've been in there for like how many years?
Fuck no, bro. You're a lost cause.
And the way she admitted to it, when you listen to the interview to her, she's sort of like, well, I said something when I was younger, such as life. Like there's no remorse or anything like that. I saw like, whatever, such as life. These things happen.
She should be arrested.
Exactly.
She should be in a fucking psych clinic.
She should be in prison. And she should be working for him, that should be fair, right?
Everything should just go to him, and then she should just be a slave.
And the way the law should work, the same way that they do things in the law to protect people, like you protect kids and stuff from adults and harming them and so forth. It should be the same way. If you lie and harm someone's life, there shouldn't even be a trial about it. It should be like, okay, good, cool. This is the consequence of it. Like this is say for example, someone punches a kid, right? Fam, you're arrested. There's no question about it. You are arrested, especially if we have evidence and we know you punched a kid. That's it, right? Yeah, So in the same way, if we know you lied, because don't they say if you lie on oath you get charged or what? Like you should have to serve it hard.
Yeah,
But hey, it is what it is. Let's get back to Velma though.
I agree.
The show, right? I think we were talking about what we hate about it. All right.
Yeah. And I think we were going on to your points.
And for me personally, again, my main issue with the show is because I can see positives, and we'll get to that in the next section, I guess. But I think for me, what I personally have an issue with it is like what I've been talking about for the longest while is that the characters are just palette swaps. There's nothing unique, or there's no value added to these characters as they are, and I think the writing for them is poor. I think it's like I cannot connect with these characters in the slightest. And the thing is that like I watch a lot of shows like this that are in the same ilk of this. This is sort of like a Big Mouth kind of thing, and I love Big Mouth. Like when I watched Big Mouth at the time when I was watching it, I enjoyed the shit out of that. That thing was hilarious, right? No, Big Mouth is gross. I'm not saying anything about it not being gross. It's a gross show, but Big Mouth is hilarious.
Sorry. For me, Big Mouth, what is this? I've never.
So Big Mouth is an animated series on Netflix, and it's all about kids going through puberty. But essentially, they have a
bro,
puberty.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
They have a puberty monster that like a fictional imaginary character.
It's a hormone monster that like tells them and tries to get them to act like
to do horny shit. Like
there's a whole character whose whole thing is fucking his pillow, for instance. Like, bro, I'm telling you, this show is like not.
And the pillow and him have a kid. He gets the pillow pregnant. And
the show is very unhinged, bro. It's like worse than South Park in some cases.
It is hilarious. It is. Big Mouth is hilarious. But I think the thing is, Big Mouth is hilarious because their focus has nothing to do and the characters have all different ethnicities. Like there's good representation in Big Mouth, but it's not the their ethnicity is not a part of the plot line for them. Really, it's just they just exist, you know, and they're represented in a authentic, nice way. It's hilarious the way in which Big Mouth does it because they focus on the humor and the funny and everything like that. So people who've watched Big Mouth know that Big Mouth is hilarious. Like they understand like this thing is batshit crazy hilarious. It's kind of like watching South Park back in the day. Like I loved South Park as a teenager. Like, you know, I remember watching that and singing "Hush your fucking face, Uncle Fuckers." Like literally, I remember so much good memories of South Park. I mean, granted, I can't watch that shit now. You know, like I'm an adult now. I watch that shit. I'm like, oh, this is toilet humor. You know. But that being said, yeah, it is toilet humor. But that being said, I loved South Park. Granted, can I get back into South Park? Probably. It's still funny. I'm sure of it. But maybe I've outgrown some of the jokes, I guess. This thing,
I think I've gotten older and grown down, so I think I might like it more now.
Bro, shrunk.
Bro, I literally was born as an adult, and I'm literally in like puberty again.
You just
good
sorry,
morning,
Mom. You know, I'm born. when they just before the doctor spanks you, you're like, where? Yeah, I'm a man. Where? Mm-hmm. Is that how it was?
No, I'm like, oh my, watch my hip. Oh, jeez.
Benjamin Button syndrome.
I'll smack you back. You know, you better not hit me with that hand. You know,
you little whippersnapper. You think you're a doctor because you've been in the school for 40 years? Well, I'll tell you about back in my days being in the womb.
Oh, nah.
Oh my God.
That's when Norm comes in and is like, you're talking about a baby. Like,
yeah, but Big Mouth is hilarious though, and I think that's the thing, the difference, the contrast between something like that and something like this. This is not funny, and that's the thing for me. I'm not saying that it can't be funny for other people. I can see where maybe some other people will find a laugh in it. I just didn't find as like I watched it, and while watching it, I don't think I laughed once. Like, I mean, maybe there must have been a chuckle here or there that I like, you know, like an internal laugh. Thing about the show. It's like an internal.
You're not part of the demographic.
Exactly. Like there may be an internal laugh inside my head, like, oh, that's kind of funny, but it's not like, oh my God. Like when I watch something like a Big Mouth, like I'm rolling on the you know, laughing to myself. You know, there's this one that I really like. It's sort of like it's on Netflix, and it's about these like conspiracy theory people who it's like, what if all conspiracy theories were real? You know, like I can't remember the name.
You mean that their theories were real?
Yeah, what if all conspiracy theories were real, basically? So aliens exist. The Illuminati is exactly who you think they are. All these cults and all that kind of stuff exist. And
Donald Trump is actually bald.
Well, I don't think they actually focus on Trump, and I think that's what that's what makes these sort of stuff so funny as well, is that their focus on the characters that they focus on are usually a little bit detached from the modern day characters. Like Oprah is in there, you know, but Oprah is part of the Illuminati, basically. Her and Beyonce. And but it's hilarious though, like the way in which it's presented. It's quite funny. I can't remember the name of the show right now, but maybe someone in the chat can tell me what's the name of it. But it's a funny show, and it's because of the fact of how they present the characters and stuff like that. And it's just there for the lulls. And they may touch on some sensitive topics, but the way they do it, you never really feel uncomfortable or weird. Like, why are they talking about it like that? Or why does it seem like the show is preaching to me? I'm not the person you should be preaching towards. You know, it's sort of like, I just want to watch something for fun. So, and that's the other thing too I find for this show as well, is that who is the demographic for this show? Like
Americans.
Yeah, but what people from the US? Because that's the same thing as like a lot of the people who, when you look at the percentage of like the ratings on the show, mostly the people that they apparently were targeting the show towards hate it. You know,
yeah. Those people don't like anything.
No,
yeah, I'd say it's definitely left wing or left center Americans were the demographic, because that's like all of the humor. It's like feminism, they got toxic masculinity over and over. They demonize white men. Like it's definitely the humor for sure. The humor, quote unquote, or message was definitely pointed at left wing or left center Americans, maybe even like white Americans.
And that's weird because like I've seen some comedies that are targeted towards a left leaning crowd, but they're good. Like it's good writing and it's good storytelling and everything like that. I find this is just, and it goes back to what you said at the beginning there. That whole thing about show don't tell. This is a lot of tell. It's a lot of,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
look at me, I do this thing. You know, it's like, good lord, like this. When are they gonna stop? You know. So that's mainly, I think, what I have an issue with the most from the show more than anything else is the whole. Ugh, it's not good. It's just not that good.
Anyways, let me move on to what I don't like about the show.
I don't like
honestly
everything. I like the show because it's amazing. Yes.
Honestly, with you, I think some of the stuff could have been done better, just slightly better. Like maybe the writing could have been better.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the part of something I honestly don't think it's that bad. Like I understand why people hate it, but I don't think it was like distasteful. Personally, it wasn't like I don't know. They fucking made the fucking My Little Mermaid fucking have an afro, and she had to like fucking have Beats by Dre headphones and fucking rapping fucking Under the Sea. But oh wait, okay, no, that's actually a Caribbean person singing that. But you know what I mean? Like, because Sebastian has a never mind. He has a Jamaican accent. But honestly, I couldn't find anything that I didn't really like or dislike specifically much. If anything, I would have rather them maybe like lean more into their stereotypes a little bit, but like I don't know, like definitely being extra Asian would have been maybe. I don't know, like I know Asians. I mean, for the most part, I can't speak for on behalf of all Asian people, but I know for a lot of Asians, like very stereotypical Asian jokes are very like overly like used all the time, you know. And for me personally, I think isn't Shaggy's character Norval, isn't he like
Mixed.
isn't he mixed? He's mixed, right?
So his dad is white, his mom's black.
His mom is black, right?
Yeah. So because his mom is the principal, I think, and his dad is the counselor.
Yeah. I personally liked that he was mixed. For myself,
Mhm.
I think that was great. I think, you know, I was like against drinking, and I was really against drinking when I was younger because my parents like fought all the time, and my stepmom and my mom and my dad separated because they fought, I guess, all the time. And so did my stepmom, and I remember like not my parents, but my uncle was really bad. Like he lost a marriage. He went around like throwing bricks in buildings, and he's also called Roger, by the way. I probably shouldn't say this, but he's also called Roger. He and I we don't hate each other, but he's very sus, and he said some racist shit to me one time. So he's not in my good books at all. Like for me, he's not even kind of like, he's just family by proxy, you know. He's not, even though me and his son get along really well, and we're like, he's basically like my big brother. Like his son is basically my big brother. But he started treating me differently, like after his divorce, and I think he kind of took it out of me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I'd forgive him. You know, it's at that point I wouldn't like beat his ass if I saw him. But I would be very hesitant to introduce any of my family members or, you know, my kid or something because of the way his actions have shown, you know, like him talking about me in a negative light because of my race, you know.
Well, who told you to be mixed then? This is on you. Shame on you.
True. So back to the show. I personally think I like your points for not liking the show. I'm not memeing. I actually genuinely like the show a lot. And I'll tell you all about it on the things I like. But I actually want to hear what you guys like about the show first, and then I will go back.
You keep segueing to us talking about the show, and you haven't really said anything about your views.
No, because the thing is, right, is that I have all the points that I like in my head already. And this was the part where we're talking about the bad things, and I don't really have much negative to say, you know. I've heard both your points. I think they're valid, but like, did I laugh at the show? I thought there was some like very funny parts, but I'll be talking about good stuff, right? So I think we should hear what Nevi has to say, like things he likes. Personally, for me, I think because again we're segueing into things we like now, I guess. If there's anything you guys can both find, and I will definitely sit on and do like a big finale part for my own thingy, so you can hear me talk more, because you really want to hear my voice for some reason. Nevi, anything you like about the show, even if it's like one thing or whatever?
Okay, so I kind of talked about this a bit in the in the beginning. The humor is very meta and on the nose for
Yes.
American activism and feminism.
Yeah.
That's how that's one of the biggest indications of what the target audience is, and a lot of this stuff probably flew over you guys' head. Whenever it came
Well, because
to
I'm a
some of
boomer.
no, because you guys aren't like from America or
I'm
care
joking.
that much about American politics.
That's where
But,
you're wrong, my brother. But
you've told me that specifically.
I've told you that Trinidad Tobago is very Americanized. Very, very Americanized.
I mean, I guess in that instance, yeah, but regardless,
just go on.
I think so. Like, I think what was it? There were like a few things they said that I thought was like kind of funny. I'm drawing a blank. I just watched it today too, which is bad. But in the first few episodes, like the gym scene, wherever before they were talking about female empowerment, they made one joke that I thought was very funny. A few of the jokes that they made about the band kid sleepover, like a bunch of the dialogue there was really good. I wish I would have wrote some of this stuff down because I actually thought it was good. And not every joke can be bad, right? So like, I wasn't expecting that.
Right, okay.
Right, so that was one thing. Another thing, if I have to choose a character that I did like, it would probably either be Norville or Gigi. Because Gigi, Velma helping Gigi find herself, and then her being like, a very important plot device, somewhat to Norville, was good. Norville's like whole change between being a beta and being like, a fucking Chad, and then being a beta again, his confused feelings, like all that shit was kind of humorous, and it did keep my attention for a little bit, like even though like some of his dialogue was insufferable. But the biggest thing about Norville that I like, I know we're supposed to be talking about things that I like. The biggest thing I didn't get to say this. The biggest thing about Norville that I didn't like is just how much they were trying to separate him from the original. Like the whole anti-fucking weed thing and how he had to just keep saying that shit over and over and over and over. It was very. But what if
that? So what if that? Sorry, I'm interrupting you because I want to point out, like, I was really against drinking, like to the point where like if I saw anyone else drink, I'm just like, you guys don't even like fucking beer. You're just drinking because you're fucking stupid. Like that was literally, I look at someone and I just thought, how dumb are you to be? It's like if you're not a smoker and you look at people smoking, you're just like, they're smoking this thing. They know they're getting cancer from it or whatever, and they're fucking getting unhealthy from it, and they still choose to do this activity. That's literally how I was towards drinking. Obviously I drink every now and then. I don't drink a lot, but I can.
Listen to this man talk. I don't drink a lot. Alcoholic.
Anyways, I've actually been called on my stream for drinking during the week. Like, you're drinking beer again? You're such a dad.
The thing is, though, the thing is about it, though, is that's what Shaggy's whole undertone was, right? That was like the flip side of like if everything Shaggy said or did right outwardly was the head face of a coin, the whole thing about him being connected to marijuana, at least slightly, was like the tails, right? It was a big part of his character, even if it wasn't made apparent, right? It was one of those things that they put in children's shows that the children will never really catch on, but it made the adults entertained. Yeah, they made the adults entertained. It was like a huge part of him, and then Norville kind of just went against that for no arbitrary, like for no reason. Like he didn't have a reason, not even.
Maybe that's like a running, like a really terribly running joke. I mean, I would think it's funny. I thought it was funny.
It is funny, but I think sorry, I should say it is a terrible run joke. I think the thing is that that's one of the things where I think shows from back then were better than stuff now, is that they were really good at putting stuff in there without it being on the nose about it. But again, as an adult watching a show because like for example, there's a show that I watch now like with my chibi called Bluey. And if you watch Bluey, it's pretty much the best animated show you can watch with a kid right now. And
Pokemon?
It's better than like honestly, it's the best animated show. Pokio. It is the best animated show you can watch with your. No,
I want to hear you say it. Better than Pokemon.
It's better than Pokio.
Pokio, not Pokemon.
It's better than Pokio. It's again.
Why is it called Pokio?
It's called Bluey. What are you guys talking about?
No, Pokio. What is this Pokio thing now we keep saying?
Pokio is an anime. It's an old anime thing.
Oh no. Bro doesn't know the Chad Pokio.
Okay, we can get into Pokio. We can get into Pokio on another thing. But my point, I'm trying to make.
I just want to hear you say it. you're saying it's better than Pokemon.
I did say it's better than Pokemon. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Just double checking.
So essentially, the thing about Bluey, what makes it so good is that the way the story is written, it's really positive stuff about like behavioral stuff that kids should do. So it's not it has no fighting, no conflicts in that sort of sense. And the way each episode sort of handles the sort of like the issues that the characters go through is so well done. But at the same time, the parents are like real people. So like, but the characters are all these little dogs from Australia, right? But the way in which they're portrayed, yeah, it's called Bluey. It's a bunch of
First of all, that name Bluey just reminds me of porn, and you know why, Q. Norm wouldn't know, but you would know because you're from Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, right, blues, right, yeah. But no, it's like
I need you to explain that one.
Blues is a slang for porn
in Trinidad. Yeah, it's like you basically say like have you watched?
You're watching a blues movie.
Yeah. It's I don't know where that comes from though. Was it because like back in the day VHS stores used to have like a blue room or something for where the kids?
No. They had blue waffles in porn a lot.
What?
Is that a thing?
Bro, shut the fuck up, bro.
Blue waffles. Like, you guys know blue waffles, right?
I know what it is. I don't think Q knows.
Google it.
No, Q don't.
Google it.
Q, do not Google it on stream because your fucking picture changes to whatever you're searching.
I'm not Googling it. But yeah.
Listen.
What's wrong with blue waffles, bro?
Blueberry waffles? No, just blue waffles. Listen. Moving on, back to your thing. Fucking dogs, bro. Like I love dogs. I love animals.
Again, the point I'm trying to make is that it's one of the few shows now that is written for adults to watch with your kids. So Bluey is a show that, as an adult, you can enjoy while your kid is watching it. And a lot of when you see a lot of parents who talk about them watching Bluey, like I remember when I first saw it with my kid, I was like, "Holy shit, it's actually good." Like I'm invested in this, the plot lines in this thing. Whereas usually whenever I'd put on something for my kid, I'd be on my phone or I'd fall asleep, because it's boring. It's like, it's just made it's like idiot fuel. But with Bluey, it's like, this actually has a cohesive, interesting story. And we binged Bluey. Like me and my son, we binged the whole shit of that.
You're just doing it wrong. Like, what you need to do is you need to put your kid on, start having them watch StarCraft playthroughs, teaching them how to use minions in StarCraft, doing the right build so they don't suck at the game. That's what I do with my kid in my free time. I'm watching Faker. No, I sit and I watch Faker. I'm like, Louisa, that is a minion. That's the caster minion. You need to hit it. After 3 casts, you can last hit it at 10% health. If you're a mage, you can probably use a spell, depending on what kind of mage you are. And then she just sits on and she does the casting thing. And I'm like, yes, girl, yes, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to just cast stuff, And then you beat them in lane and you just tell them GG fucking noobs and then you leave the game. Later, bitch.
What the fuck is he talking about?
This guy is, parenting 101 from Rare. Like this is how you make. To be honest though, like my chibi he's learning Pokemon right now, so he's playing his first Pokemon game. And but here's the thing. It's super helpful for him because the one rule we have while he's playing Pokemon is he can't progress unless he's understanding what he has to do before he goes on. So like he might come and say, "Oh, daddy, I don't know what to do here." And I'm like, "Well, read what the character says to you." Like, and so he's practicing his reading because he's 4 years old. So he's practicing his reading, and his reading in school has gotten even better. Like we do practice with him at home, but to see how much
you actually told me. But
to see how much of a boost it has had on him since he started playing Pokemon, because there has been a shift. Is good. And I was actually talking to my brother about it, and he was saying he lets his daughter plays some other game, and he said he's seen a similar thing when she started playing the game. Like her reading improved because of the fact that she was reading in the game, because they're doing something fun basically. So yeah, but I think that's the thing when it comes to like trying to wrap this back to Velma. I think the content that you consume, is it something that you can consume and enjoy with other people, like, like watching something with your kid, and how it's presented in a sort of way, like not on your nose about it. And I think Velma fails in that regard. But at the same time, the old Scooby-Doo didn't. The old Scooby-Doo connected with adults that they can watch and see that Shaggy or Norville or whatever is a weed head because he's always hungry. And he's like always just out of it, like.
Why the fuck is Scooby hungry all the time though? It's because
he's a dog. He's his dog. He smokes with him.
He's a Great Dane, bro. Of course he's gonna be.
I know he's a.
Yeah, what the hell?
I mean, if you're a smoker and your dog is in your car all the time with you, that dog is high as fuck.
Scooby doesn't act high. He actually acts hyperactive. Shaggy, on the other hand, is always down. He's always chill. He's always smiling whenever there's not a monster.
Yeah.
Like Zoinks.
Yeah,
Zoinks.
typical. Norville is a or Shaggy is a fucking typical. Is a typical weed head, bro. He'd probably be on that fucking Pineapple Express. No, he'd probably be. Damn, what kind of indica would he smoke? I don't know, but
oh my god. Oh my god. What is Pineapple Express, by the way?
Oh, it's a strain. So there are.
Are you a weed head?
Yeah, I used to be. Whenever I grew up in New Jersey, I used to do a lot of stuff that was pretty questionable.
Okay, now. Okay.
But yeah, so I have a lot of exposure to these things. Sativa, I'm pretty sure, is the type of strain that is usually a downer, and that's the one that most typical weed smokers smoke because it makes you, it's a relaxant. And because if I'm remembering properly, because I haven't smoked in a long time, but indicas are the ones that they give you more energy. So Pineapple Express would be an indica, and then sativa is what Shaggy would smoke.
Interesting.
Let me see.
I mean, no, we don't need to get into the whole detail of it. I was just curious.
I just remembered. Indica. I got it backwards. Indicas are the sleepy ones and the relaxing ones. The sativas are the energy ones.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So I guess since we're sticking to the whole like, what did you like about the show? I'm gonna be honest. I didn't like much of anything of it. Like I'll be honest. Like I didn't really like much of anything of it. I mean, animation style, like it's good. It's decent animation. Like it looks good, I guess. But to say like if I liked it, as I said, I couldn't connect with the characters. Like I was watching it and I was just like, it's sort of like the kind of show I would put on in the background as I sleep. That's what, like, because there are certain shows that I would run in the background as I, like, maybe if I need to fall asleep and I'm like, I can't fall asleep, I might put something on and it will run in the background, but I'm not watching it. That's what that is for me. That's how, and usually it's something like Family Guy, like I'll put on, like, and I don't hate Family Guy, I actually like Family Guy, but I think this show would be like white noise to me. Like, it's just, there's nothing from it when I'm watching it that I'm like, ooh, that's interesting, I want to know more. And I think, okay, maybe not, because there's one thing that I was curious about, and it's the whole mystery of her mother thing. And the mystery of who killed the girls. Like, I am still kind of curious, like, I'm like, oh, so who did it? That kind of stuff. So that kept me going, but the rest of it was just, oh, why do I have to put up with all this other shit just to get to the point of what I want to know?
I'm sorry, I have to ask this, but do you guys think we know, it's not I know Q doesn't really like me asking these, but do you guys think that the killer is one of the people that we've seen on the show already, or is it just
Shaggy?
Really
it's definitely Shaggy.
You really think it's a Norville?
It's Norville. I mean, he's got a fucking sword, and he sliced off that portrait of him and thing. I think he went psycho because these girls were picking on Velma, and he decided, I'm gonna cut your heads off and take your brains out.
I don't think so.
Wait. You know why I didn't think? I remember thinking that as well. And I remember something that came up. Remember the stone being thrown? Was it the stone or something being thrown in the window? But it turned out to be his parents, their parents, whatever. The whole time. Then
if not, it's Fred's dad. That's basically it. Yeah, Fred's dad.
Damn.
Because his parents do everything for him, right? So it's got to be Fred's dad. Or his butler or something.
What's the motive, though? What's the motive? Teasing his manhood, maybe, or some shit?
Maybe they saw his dick and he didn't want anyone to know his.
But so many people saw his dick now.
Yeah, they murdered it. There was murders before then.
Well, yeah, but maybe they saw.
No, this was before. This was before anyone had seen it, basically. But maybe he was trying to hide it first. He wasn't successful about it, and then he murdered it. Then it was like, oh, so
why is Daphne not the first one to die then? Because they're like the literal,
I think mine is Norville's mom.
Norville's mom,
the principal.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because think about it. She was super reluctant at the beginning in order to give Velma clues. Right. I didn't like that about her. Like the whole like hiding the truth thing. My idea, my theory is that it's somebody who didn't want the mystery of the whole like, brain swapping thing to come back out.
True, that is a good
Yeah.
That's a good motive, I should say, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that would be Yeah, I think that's a great motive. Like somebody who would want to keep the brain swapping. Oh yeah, and that's the reference I wanted to make. So I said at the beginning of the podcast that they ended up making a reference to Scooby.
Yes.
The original plan to swap people's brains was called Scooby.
Oh yes. I remember. Yes.
It was C-O-O-B-I,
this SC. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's like the one reference Scooby got.
Yeah, I remember that now. True. All right. Well, I guess we'll move on to the part where I tell you about how great this fucking show is. Right. So, if you fuckers correct me, right, I'll be mad. All right. Okay, good. So the first thing I want to say, my favorite part of the show, my all-time favorite part of the show is Velma's hallucinations. And hear me out on this before you say anything. Why I like it so much is because I personally have never seen a show that does this. And when they do, it's the only other show that I've seen was with Jinx becoming, with Powder becoming Jinx. Because I played League, I actually mained Jinx as well for a little bit. I mean, like half the roster of the game, but no one needs to know that. And playing Jinx in game, you just like when she came out. I remember my friend who was called Hassan. He was like, "Oh, bro, she's just a Harley Quinn ripoff. Like, who fucking cares? Like come up with something more original," because he's a big DC fan, right? So anything that's like, it'd be like with me and Warcraft characters, like like anything that's semi like Raid Shadow Legends, for example, would kind of like tilt me because they just clearly take literally shit out of Warcraft,
Bro, Raid Shadow Legends is so cool though, bro. I love that game.
Shut the fuck! I know you're memeing. You can't take it. I have one friend
I'll show you my hours on my phone right now. Do you think I'm memeing?
Listen. Those friend points we were talking about before? You know how you have like 100 and like, how much do you get? No, you didn't do the thing, right? So I guess you still only have like 125. Yeah, you only have like 125 or something. Oh no, I think you have 117 exactly. And yeah, you can lose all those points real quick. I'm just saying. So choose what you do.
Here's why you're objectively wrong about me. And here's how I'm gonna gaslight you into giving me more points.
Listen,
nah, bro, what you mean? It was 130 points.
Listen,
I had 130
back to Velma.
Before we get back to this, I had 130 points, bro.
No, you had 117. I remember you lost some points.
Bro, how?
You gained some points recently, but you lost.
Okay. Let's continue with the conversation. Right. Let's hear why you like the show.
Yeah, right. So Velma's triggering thing, right? It's interesting because first we don't really know, right? Like we kind of know, right? And then we thought we knew, but we didn't. And then we thought we liked it, but we don't. And then it's just the way it's done. It's so extra trippy. It's like weed trippy or LSD trippy. And then the way it's like so the show, like the art style, I didn't like. But when I saw that, I was like, is this gonna happen all the time? I didn't think it was. I thought it was like a one-time thing when I first saw it. And I was like, wait, it's actually like they're actually playing into this. Because the budgets for the animation goes into Velma's trippy shit. I swear to God, no cap. And her losing her shit, for me, hands on the best part. Like, and then them trying to solve it, which for me, that was like the underlying part. It was like kind of like okay, I need to solve this so I can actually solve the mystery. Like that's like the part she needs to solve, right? And then Norval like telling her like oh how he feels for her, and then she just like laughs it off. That's like very typical. Like I feel like young men nowadays have this kind of problem where they want to open up to women, but then women don't really like some women like it, but some women don't like it. Like women don't even know what they like, and it's all a big fucking meme in the end. And it's really funny because it's very it's like satire, right? It's like sad to see him feel that way, but it's also sad because she likes someone who's clearly a fucking douchebag, right? Like Fred is, which I think Fred is like he's not a likable character. He's not supposed to be very likable, but she likes him, right? And it's very typical, like girls like the bad boy or the guy who doesn't give a fuck about them. It's like my friend said, if you want a girl to like you, just act gay around them. Like don't do like really gay stuff. Just like think when you're talking to him that it's a dude, and then they will just start liking you for some reason. That was like his like biggest like way to pick up chicks. Sorta, I guess maybe he's not like the best ladies man, but anyways, and for me, I think also with the mystery itself, I thought that was really good. I am very sexual as a person. Like, my humor is very sexual. I really don't give a fuck if they're like, I mean, like, if they look like really small kids or some shit, I would have been like completely, like, my brain would have just been like, the fuck. But because of how it is and how it's like I'm putting myself in a teenager's head, right, when I'm watching this, and I'm not putting myself in a teenager's head of like me being a teenager. I'm trying to think of what it's like being a teenager now, you know. And also obviously comparing it to like how I was back then. And a lot of the humor for me is just really good. I like how it just opens up and it's just like, oh yeah, you know, all these shows are just like extremely sexual, just so you can like pull in the cast of people. And I really like modern and young people and like their humor and trying to understand it, because I feel like a lot of people go through this phase of life where they're just like, okay, like if I'm born in like the let's say that like the 50s or 60s or whatever, let's say I'm born in the 60s, then the 80s, because that's when I'm a young adult, the 80s are going to be the best, right? So if you're like my dad's age, right, like the 80s, man, the 80s used to be so good, man. Like, but you guys have shitty ass fucking hip hop music and shit, bro. We had fucking ABBA and shit, bro. And I'm like, bro, that shit is cringe as fuck. And he's like, no, bro, we used to be able to fuck without condoms, and now there's all these STDs and shit, bro. That shit is stupid as fuck. I'm like, no, that's that. You know. So everyone thinks that their own time is best. You know, everyone thinks, and then maybe at some point I'll be like that. You know, fuck these new mobile games, bro. Like, fucking League of Legends sitting on the.
Rare. I mean, being able to fuck without condoms and not worrying about STDs does sound hella cool, though. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but then there's also, you know, crotch goblin.
Sorry, what?
Back then, like the second new word that I've heard.
Back then, kids
what did you call it? The fucking toilets humor. What the fuck did you call it?
Me?
Yeah, like there's two words that I just learned, and then I'm just like, both of you guys each of you use like a new funny word, and I'm just like,
I can't remember what I said.
Also, Daniel, wait, hold on. Daniel, what are you talking about? In episode 10, she accuses somebody, but we didn't find out who the killer was in episode 10.
Ooh la la. There's disturbance in the force. Again, let's not discuss the finale of it. I think
according to episode 10,
let's not okay. If you two want to discuss that, you can do it on Discord. But I don't. I'm not.
We're not talking about the finale.
Sorry,
we're not talking about the finale.
If it's a spoiler to, because what I didn't see the last episode, so if what yeah, I didn't watch the last episode.
Both of you fuckers didn't watch the last episode.
No,
I mean, I do know that they don't reveal the killer though in the last episode, right?
They don't.
Yeah,
exactly. Because that's fine. Because Daniel's saying that the killer is revealed in the last episode, so I'm like, actually, that's what Daniel's saying. He said like the review said that the killer was revealed in the last episode. So if it's true and the killer is revealed, I don't want it in the chat, because I think it's the one positive thing that the show has going for it is that mystery of who the killer is. I think anything else?
You know about Velma's Daphne's parents though, right? You obviously know.
Pardon?
Yeah, I know who Daphne's parents are. The Asian criminals who are fucking crystal miners.
Crystal miners. Them talking about that crystal shit was stupid as fuck as well. Bro. It's like, it's like how I think whose mom? It was someone's mom that was like, oh, it's fucking quartz. That's good for telling the future or some shit. Like it was like some cringy ass crystal shit that.
Yeah, but then they were like, it's a hoax. We're lying.
Yeah. It's I don't know. Anyways, so other things I liked. I mean, I like the whole like Norval not not wanting to like be wrapped into like just being the stereotypical like. It's like I think it's like it's something similar to like, I don't know, like being a really buff beefy man and then being like straightforward, just being outwardly gay, but then everyone's like, oh, you're the dumb, and then you have to explain to people like I don't want to talk about this, my privacy, but no, I'm not. I'm the sub or some shit. Like I feel like that's such a typical like, oh, you're black, so by default you would like weed, or by I don't know, fucking you're Swedish, you like ABBA, or or some shit. You know what I mean? And
but I think the thing with Norm is that he talks about it all the time. Like no one cares. It's like No, it's not like other characters are constantly assuming that he likes weed. He's talking about it all the time that he doesn't like it. And I think that's the issue. The issue is like, why the frack are you constantly going on and on about this? No one is talking about it. No one's accusing you of liking weed. You are just saying like, oh, it's like basically in a sense, it's like him accusing people of something before he has someone has even done something to him. It's like calling someone racist before they haven't done anything to be racist to you. But you're like, yeah, but you're just a racist. You know, it's like, yeah, but dude, I haven't done anything to you. Like, you know, like why? You've already created a friction between yourself and I before we've even gotten to know each other. You know, that kind of thing. That's the issue.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see it as for me. It's not a big issue. Like,
I guess an example.
It literally never went in my head. Like, oh man, this shit he's talking about is annoying. For me, it's more like, oh lol, okay, yeah, sure, I see. Like any points that you all had for me, it's just like, okay, I guess.
It's like assuming just because like if you have a friend and just because they're gay, they like you. Like, no, they don't just automatically like you because they're gay. You know, it's like. True. It's that kind of and if you constantly went to them every time you spoke to you, like, oh, don't like me though, you know, because I don't want you, I don't like you, you know, like I don't, and they constantly, that's all they spoke about, constantly about how, you know what, I don't like guys, but the whole time you're not even interested in them, but they're constantly going on and on about it. You'd eventually get annoyed by them. You'd be like come on man, just shut up already. Like no one's interested in you that way. You know, so the thing with him constantly about like, oh, look, I don't smoke weed.
The example
is like why are you constantly going on and on about this? No one gives a shit. No one's accusing you about it. You know.
I understand the example, but for me, just I don't know. For me, just didn't like. I didn't care. For me, it was a spectacle to watch it. I think I could again. I can see a lot of reasons why people don't like it. Honestly, for me, I'm ready to give my rating on it, and I would like to hear your ratings on it. I'm going to start first because, you know, I let everyone else start first. So I'm going to start first now just because, you know, I feel like I can. I'm actually going to give Velma, even though it's like a 1 or whatever, for most people, I think I would actually give it. The reason why it doesn't get a higher score is because of the art style, but I've grown to accept it. You know, it's like, I can't really compare it to Archer, because you know how like some people like Archer because it's a great like
some people really Archer is brilliant, bro. What are you talking about?
I haven't seen it myself, but like for me the art style stuck out really hard, and I think a lot of the reason why people like Archer is because of the humor, right? I haven't seen it personally yet though, so I can't really say, but with Velma, I think the art style is. I probably would because I know I've seen like very little bit of like semi-sexual clips, and yeah, again, like I think that. So for me, I think Velma. Honestly, I'm not even joking. I think I'm gonna give it a 9, straight up. It's getting a 9, and I know people in the comment section of this YouTube video. By the way, make sure you like this video and tell me why I'm really fucking wrong. I'd love to hear it in the comment section, and also make sure if you like it, give it a like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, it's free. Fucking subscribe, and you can stick on and hear more shitty opinions from me, and then you can hear Q tell me why I'm wrong, and then Nevi tell us about how much guns he likes. But yes, so yeah, it's a 9 for me. I would like to hear your guys' scores, actually, if you don't.
So if you go, I'll be last.
Yeah, Nevi, let's hear your score. If you can give it out of 10.
All right. All right.
Is someone typing on Essie or something?
So I was, because I don't like stumbling over my words, so I'm gonna just read what I wrote. So, as a satirical think piece with a questionable intention toward radical feminism and American activism, I rate Velma a 3 out of 10. Straying far away from the source material, insufferable characters, and an overdone plot point, this show was overall underwhelming, and I would not watch the season 2 if I could help myself. So,
well, you're watching it because we're gonna do an episode on it.
I know, but I don't fucking want to. I'd rather waste my Saturdays doing something else.
You'd rather waste your Saturdays smoking weed.
I mean, you're already doing that, so you can at least waste it on Velma.
Yes, I'd rather waste. You know, because of UQ, I'm gonna go get more weed. Thanks. I like marijuana. You know, I'm a bit of a. I'm a bit of a sour diesel fan myself.
What the fuck is a sour diesel?
It's another strain, bro. Keep up. Pay attention.
Yeah, Q, I thought you were the big brain one here.
Okay.
Looks like we have a new big brain in this call.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
It's me. I'm Gideon the all-knowing bitch.
All right, Q. Let's
if you get that reference, you're a god. But none of you seem to understand that joke, especially Rear, because he doesn't play single-player games.
Ooh, it's a single-player game. Ooh la la.
No, we're not having this talk.
He's one of the first characters you meet, bro. It's not a spoiler.
No, I mean, like, we're not having this fucking, like, MMORPG. Me and Q go into this long debate on why MMORPGs are the worst, and then I did this once when I first met it. Wait, I need to tell everything. So, you know, when I first met Q, I was like, oh, you know, I'm from cities. Oh, and then Q was like, wait, are you from Trinidad Tobago? Like, no way you're from Trinidad Tobago. Like, what part of Trinidad Tobago? You don't look Trinidad Tobago, you know? I'm like, bro, yeah, I'm from Trinidad Tobago.
Bro, come on, bro. Don't be like that.
I didn't say it didn't look like Trinidad because instantly, the reason why I asked is because you sounded Trini. I was like, this guy sounds kind of Trini, but... It looks your setting where you were didn't look like it was in Trinidad. Not that you didn't look like Trinidad Tobago. Your setting is like, this guy's not in Trinidad, is he? You know?
I mean, you can get some houses that are like this, but yeah, Malta does have a kind of different interior. I wasn't being really. I wasn't choosing your words literally.
You were choosing them wrongly, but it's okay. Go on.
Yeah, so what were we saying? Yes, about the MMORPG.
Gideon the all-knowing, bro. He's so cool. His boss fight is
not that. Cool. You fucking having a go at me for fucking. So what I did is I should talk single player games, and I said RPGs are great, but you know, MMORPGs are where the real. And then he was like, you know, you're the. Was it you or was it in the podcast? I think someone. I don't remember who it was, but someone was like, the way that modern gaming is made is exactly like you're the reason why modern gaming exists. Like the way it does, where it's like all online and shit, and there's no real single player campaign that is meaningful anymore. And I'm like, yes, who fucking cares about that shit? It's like, I know, and the thing is, I don't, right? Like if I wanted to watch that shit, I would either watch it in a show or watch you play it, you know, more or less, right? Like I don't hate it, like I don't want to spend time on it myself, like my own time. I would like put on a second monitor while I'm sleeping or some shit, you know. But I think that's okay. I think everyone having different tastes is the best thing in the world. You know, even though your tastes are all wrong and my single 1% taste is correct.
No, so here's a dissertation on why you're incorrect. And yes, it's 10 pages. And yes, it's gonna take me 3 hours. So because I just say that the market in 8 font double space. This is why you're incorrect. All right. So step 1, you're a Jew. Step 2.
What the fuck? Can we just confirm that Nevis is joking? This is not his actual opinion.
Yeah,
no, he's very
no. I have Jewish friends, bro. I'm not anti-Semitic.
Yeah, my friend's girlfriend is Jewish. What do you mean? Anyways, look, the market is being pushed towards what I like, and you guys are stinky poo heads. Okay, that's all that matters. Okay,
that's true. That's why you are wrong. Both of you are incorrect. Nobody is forcing anybody to do single player shit or multiplayer shit. Just as many single player games are still being developed, bro. Like look at Hogwarts.
I know. I'm just memeing. Oh god, we can talk
it's not about just as many single player games are being developed. It's that single player games are being a lot of the way in which single player games were traditionally made. They're being made with a multiplayer connotation. A lot of the content is being locked out, and like even like for example, like you buy a single player game now, and if it's like on a console, you have to still install a disc and stuff like that, and then a lot of content is docked behind DLC because they want to sell you more of it instead of it being.
The disc thing is because of a hardware limitation. That's not because of like online functionality or multiplayer functionality. That's something developers want to not have to do, but games are so big now that CDs as a format just doesn't work.
The Blu-ray format can hold a lot of thing, and some developers have proven it by the size of their games fitting on the actual disc. Things like The Last of Us or whatever have you. And so forth. So
also, remember patching, like you know.
Again, if it was just a patch, then that's fine. But I'm saying like a lot of games now, there's a lot of games where you buy the game and there's nothing on the disc. It's just you have to download a lot of stuff because.
Didn't you say that on your previous podcast, Q? You download, you got the new NBA, whatever the fuck it was.
That's actually on. I've actually got which is true. I did say it on That Beautiful Life, and I've actually got some shorts about it on YouTube. You guys can go over to Simply Binge on YouTube and check out my shorts about how I hate modern gaming. But yeah, it's pretty much
So unluckily, this is not a gaming YouTube channel, but it could be maybe, or maybe
no.
some
The thing though that I still haven't given my rating, you guys. So
yes.
Let's get to that juicy stuff. I've given it a 1 out of 10, and that 1 out of 10 is me being generous, right? Because IMDb won't let me give it anything lower than 1. I give it a 1 out of 10. Like it is for me. I found it difficult to actually enjoy watching the show because, again, and I think when it comes to a show, it's about being able to connect to the characters to some extent. Whether it is,
I hate all of y'all. I hate both of y'all.
Whether it is liking, whether it is liking or hating a character. Like for example, like I don't like Captain America, but I can partake in content that includes Captain America because of the fact that, you know, I like to hate Captain America. You know, he's enjoyable to hate. You know, he's supposed to. It's like I can't stand Cyclops from the X-Men. He's annoying. He's a Boy Scout. He does all the right. He has to do all the right things like Captain America. And those kind of characters.
Actually, I'm curious. How do you feel about Superman?
Can't stand him. You know, he's
okay.
I can't stand those characters that are like.
I could take the Cyclops slander and I could take the Cyclops slander and the Captain America slender, bro. But if you actually dislike Superman for the same reasons why you dislike Cyclops and Captain America, you don't understand the character.
Superman is too much of a Boy Scout. He's like I have all these powers and stuff like that, and I'm doing the moral right thing and all this sort of stuff. But Superman, I think the best example of why Superman's perspective is wrong is the Injustice comics. I think the Injustice did Superman, like Superman got what was coming to him, you know, in Injustice, and it finally showed.
Wait, like, him, Lois dying. What?
He got what was coming to him, right?
Bro, that's what you fucking does.
That's what you goddamn deserve, Superman.
Wait,
right? All the times he keep think about it like this, right? All these superheroes always like, oh, we can't kill the villains. Let's just put them in prison, and they break back. The villains always break back out next week. It's like on a Monday they break out, right? They go in on Friday, they break out on a Monday, and then they kill a bunch of other people right after.
No, here's the thing. Here's the thing though. That it wouldn't. I'd see what you were saying if it was a Superman villain that did that shit to him. It was fucking Batman's villain that did it to him. Exactly. It's not even Superman's fault. What do you mean?
The thing is that Superman is he's a part of that mindset with Batman. They both like, you know what? Let's not hurt the villain.
There's merit to it though, because at least with Superman, his villains can be institutionalized and have you know, whenever it comes to Superman villains, either A, he does kill them. Like, I don't think he's ever spared Darkseid, right? But and B, all of like a bunch of his
knows Darkseid isn't dead. He's coming back next week.
Well, of course. But if he could kill him, he would. And then Lex Luthor,
no, he wouldn't. If he could kill him,
yes, he would.
He wants to sit down with Darkseid in front of his therapist desk and say, like, let me tell you something about Darky.
There were comics where Superman had the chance to destroy Darkseid's real soul or whatever, and he took the chance. So no, it's not. That's not even like, no, it's like, that's not even like, he's not like Batman to that extent. And then Lex Luthor, right? Lex Luthor does some shit, right? But he's not like, Lex Luthor isn't a psycho who deserves to be murdered.
No, Lex is a psycho because here's the reason why Lex is a psycho, right? His whole thing against Superman is because Clark never told him we were friends, mate, and you never told me you were superpower. Like, I hate you for because you didn't actually come and confide in me. You didn't trust me enough to tell me that you had superpowers. I thought we were mates. That's his whole bloody thing. That's a psycho way. That's like
sexy bald head energy.
That's like Rare hating me because I didn't tell him that I like gummy bears more than gummy worms, right? I mean, bloody hell, dude.
Well, actually, factually incorrect. Gummy worms are way better. I'm actually eating gummy worms as well.
Oh, to be honest, I agree with you. Gummy worms are better. I'm actually eating gummies as well because to try to like soothe my throat, but they're not worms, they're like gummy drops.
All right, okay.
But again, I still didn't get to explain my 1 out of 10 reasoning behind this, but it's just I found the characters not very relatable. Like, I couldn't relate to any of the characters in any way, shape, or form. I couldn't tell who the show was made for as I'm watching it. Like, I'm like, who's actually watching this and thinking, man, this is the best thing coming out
Rare.
from Yeah, obviously.
I never said it was the best. I never said it was the
obviously,
best.
he's that guy. And a 9, yeah,
Bro,
exactly. This man gave it a 9.
Most of the shows I rate are like 10s. Most shows I rate are 10s. Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk was a 10. Cyberpunk was class, right? But
wait, didn't you give it an 8?
Obviously, because I know everything has flaws in it, but Velma is full of it.
Bro, come on, bro. This whole like nothing can be perfect mentality. Why?
Because
like, bro. Well, okay. What can you tell me what Cyberpunk could have improved on, bro?
Bro.
Cyberpunk could have improved if
watch the episode.
No.
Yeah, because I did actually talk about why I thought Cyberpunk could be better, like what I wanted to see.
Okay. Well, can you summarize? Like, I'm actually curious.
Let me know. People go back and listen to the episode. It's actually the end of the episode.
That's actually a rule that we have. Or talk about after stream, I guess.
We don't talk about old episodes. That's the reason for you to go back and listen to it. So yeah,
I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
So, but yeah, I couldn't relate to the characters. Didn't find anything of value from watching the show, and I just thought to myself, like, I could be doing something better. Like, there were other shows I wanted to watch, and I was suffering through this shit. I was like, man, there's this anime that.
Did you not watch it with your missus, by the way?
I don't know. I asked her if she wanted to watch it, but she instead we ended up doing something else that was way better. Like, we were playing this we're doing this sort of game where we were like, it's a question game, like a couple's
it's a
question
game where you
game.
try not to have children.
It was a couple's question game. Anyway, the point is, it was much more entertaining than watching Velma. You know?
Yeah, I guess. I bet I'd probably also be more entertained watching Velma doing whatever you did.
And this is not necessarily like, oh well, in comparison to anything else, it would suck. I'm saying, and I'm saying, like, I was having more fun just having a chat with my missus rather than to sit and watch any them. And the thing, my missus and I, we like watching shows a lot together. Like we watched The Last of Us together. This anime series we started recently that we're both watching together as well. That's going really good. But the thing is, when I even mentioned it to her, she didn't even like wink. She was like, "Oh, okay, let's do this other thing though." Like, that was basically it. Let's do this other thing though. You know?
Why do I not believe you? I don't know.
She's in there.
I feel like I need to hear a Mrs.
She's on the sofa.
Mrs. Yeah, but I need to hear a Mrs. Opinion on it from her mouth.
Well, she has been listening to the episode. I don't know if she's still listening to it, but I know I did ask her to like check it out if because she was watching anime, and I came down and was like, hey, like I'm gonna do a recording with Ray if you wanna pop in, and she's like, yeah, just send me the link. So yeah.
Well, Lexi, if you're here, just pretend you never heard all these spoilers, and then go watch it real quick.
Spoilers don't affect her. She'll watch anything. But the thing is that
she's just like me.
The thing is that she will, like, if it's shit, she'll tell you shit. Like, she'll straight up be like, this is garbage. Like, I can't watch this, you know? But
I need to hear from the horse's mouth, man.
I would say when it comes to a lot of animation stuff, her and I do have very similar tastes when it comes to a lot of it. There are a few that like, when it comes to horror and stuff like that, she's more into that than I am. But I think with like comedy and some other
likes. You remember? I remember you telling me that she likes. I know. I'm leaning or stretching, whatever you want to call it. That she might like Velma, but I remember you telling me specifically that she did like Law and Order or whatever. I think you said specifically. Was it Law and Order or CSI?
Was
it CSI? Wasn't it you that? I thought she liked some kind of criminal. It was some criminal show that you said that she liked, or maybe you just told me that she liked criminal shows.
She likes criminal shows, but like, you know, like real life. Like, she likes to watch those. You know, those ones where it's like the true story about this person murdering that person. She likes that kind of shit. You know?
Yeah.
And it was a true story. And then whenever she watches that kind of stuff, she'd be like, you know what? But it was real though. It was true. Like, this actually happened. And I'm like, doesn't make it any better. Makes it worse. You know, these cycles exist out there.
It does make it better.
No, not for me.
It does.
Not for me. I'm like, these cycles exist. Joker is real.
Anyways. God, I would love to talk about gaming. So, or not gaming. Well, I guess kind of gaming. The Last of Us. So that's what you've been watching. I didn't actually finish the episode of your podcast.
You know,
can we talk about it a little bit here?
No, we're not gonna get into that. I need to save that for That Beautiful Life.
But I mean, it doesn't matter because I'm not Roger, right?
Again, I will forget it after if I talk about it.
I think me being on the show to help Rear make fun of Q is very good.
Sorry, what?
Nothing.
You know, I hear everything. I just say sorry what just to hear it again, just to see if like you got the stones to say to my face, right?
All right, bro. I
Say it with your chest.
got you. Yeah, nah. Me being on the show to make fun of you.
Say it with your chest, mate.
Bro, I am. Okay. Anyway, but yeah. Is there anything the viewers will be able to look forward to soon, like any other shows?
Oh yes.
Well, Ray has the next show. It's an Amazon Prime thing. Ray, go for it.
Eminence of Shadow.
Yes. No, maybe you can show me that after, and we'll talk about that. So Q, we were thinking about doing. Can we talk about it? Am I allowed to talk about it with you on the show? Because I did bring it up before.
Just bring it up. The next one is.
So next episode we'll be doing Vox Machina season 1. I'll have to rewatch it because I've watched it when it came out. I'm not gonna go too in detail on it. It is animated, not really anime. Definitely check it out, guys. It's on Amazon Prime. It's super good and it has my favorite voice actor in it. So you already know it's gonna be good. Liam O'Brien, aka Gaara from Naruto, the English version, and also Azura and Illidan Stormrage. Definitely a must watch in my opinion.
My favorite voice actor is Keith David.
So, and Q, you were okay with watching it, if I remember correctly, or
it was already in my watch list. So yeah.
Okay, cool. So, and if you want to as well, Nevi, I'm pretty sure I can convince Q again to invite you on the show.
You can convince me of shit. What are you talking about?
I hope you guys like the first episode of this year. This is 2023. Any last words? Do we want to sign out here, Q?
Yeah. See you guys in the next one. Blah blah blah. Words and stuff like that. I'm sick. I'm getting fed up of using my voice right now. My throat hurts.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Nev needs to go take a shit and smoke weed in his bathroom. So, you know, all that kind of good stuff.
And I need to go look at
Porn.
Yes. Animated porn. Anyways, that is me, Rare, signing out. And Q, I'm going to speak on behalf of Q because his voice. And Nevi, well, he has no social media. You can find Q at Simply Binge or at LP Guardian. And our channel here at Simply Otaku on YouTube. You can find me anywhere online, especially on Pornhub, at Rare Entry.
You really have a Pornhub account called Rare Entry on Pornhub?
I wish I did. Maybe someone's gonna yoink it from me. Damn it. We should make one real quick. I've never been to our website though. Like no cap.
You've never been to Pornhub?
You can find me. You can find me at twitch.tv/Rare Entry or on YouTube as well. Thank you.
Don't believe her and his lies. He's been on Pornhub. He probably
I'm a dinosaur. I basically have T-Rex arms. Okay, how am I fucking supposed to like use a mouse?
He probably has like 5 accounts. You know, you're not jerking off. You're making the content. But with that, guys.